Here we go, a Monday edition of the Sports Bash live. 97.3 ESPN. The 97.3 ESPN free mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City. And, of course, live video streaming on the X platform, YouTube, 97.3 ESPN. I'm your host, Mike Gill. Josh Henning is producing today's show. You out there, oh, man, what a weekend. I don't even know where to start. I mean, the Phillies lifeless this weekend at Citizens Bank Park. 2-7 on the homestand, and they are 6.5 games back in the National League East. We talked about it on Friday's Phillies Fastball segment. They could be 6.5 games back if they got swept. And sure enough, they had leads. They could not hold them. They could not score. And the Phillies got swept by the Braves. They are 6.5 games back in the National League East. That was probably story number one. Is this Phillies run crumbling before our very eyes? You know, we often look at situations, and we're in the moment of them, and we have a hard time adjusting and planning for the ending. And I think most people looked at this Phillies run and figured it would be, I don't want to say never-ending, but in the Bryce Harper era, that as long as Harper was kind of here and Schwarber was here, that they would be a playoff team or in the mix. Is this a team that is crumbling before our very eyes, or is it just early? They're 8-13, they're 6.5 back. Or can this team get it together? Well, we're going to talk a lot about it. We got the fastball segment today. We've got Mike and Bob Phillies baseball chat at 5 o'clock tonight with Bob Wankel. An article from The Athletic today says the Mets, Phillies, and Astros have deeper problems than their managers, but that doesn't mean they're safe. It is the first sign of the Phillies possibly saying, we got problems. And we have problems that we can't fix with our players, and somebody might have to be the fall guy, and that fall guy could be Rob Thompson. So we'll keep an eye on that. We'll play some audio from it coming up in just a little bit. But it was June 3rd, 2022, when the Phillies made the decision to move on from Joe Girardi. So that would be about another month or so from now. At what point did the Phillies say enough is enough? This offense is lifeless. This offense has basically no energy, and we've got to do something different. So that starts off the weekend that was just a brutal weekend for the Phillies. I don't know that I need to spend a lot of time on the Sixers. They got their ass kicked yesterday. And as Nick Nurse said, completely unacceptable. I don't even know if it's unacceptable. I think it was anticipated. And we move on. And then there was the Flyers on Saturday night, which captured the region with a, I don't want to say stunning victory, but a victory that has them up 1-0 in the series over the Pittsburgh Penguins. And it couldn't go any better. You got a goal from two defenders and then a game winner from Porter Martone. You got an epic save late in the game from Dan Vladar, and the Flyers held on for dear life to win that game 3-2, and they have a 1-0 series lead. It is a team that right now the Phillies need because people are starting to believe in them. And at the same time as they're believing in the Flyers, their belief in the Phillies is waning. And then there's A.J. Brown, who now, you know, it's funny in the reporting world. When certain people report things, we don't like it. Diana Rossini obviously has her own issues going on off the field. But she really didn't say anything that was wrong. You just didn't like to hear what she had to say. But Diana Rossini was on our show at the Super Bowl and told it like it is. And now Adam Schefter, I don't know that he's sleeping with Mike Vrabel, but somehow he's got the information that Rossini had. And he is now reporting that Brown will not be a part of the Eagles' offseason programs, and it is expected that he will be traded to the Patriots after June 1st. So Diana Rossini didn't get the information wrong. You just didn't want to hear the information. Now that Adam Schefter's reporting it, do you believe that A.J. Brown's going to be traded? I think most people did believe it. But for some reason, Diana just got a ton of hatred because of it. But she's been saying this for months, that the Patriots wanted A.J. Brown and that the Eagles were willing to move him. And the Eagles will take the cap hit to move him, and they will move on. Now, one thing I saw Greg Cosell talking about, we're going to talk about this with Geoff Mosher later on for Football at 4, is Cosell says that he thinks the Eagles are kind of comfortable with the wide receiver room and that they will likely draft one on draft night. So I thought that was kind of another addition to this whole conversation. 609-403-0973. All four teams are in play today. Flyers with a win. Sixers, I think, listen, I had no anticipation for the Sixers. And quite frankly, I think that the Sixers really almost need to just get blown out these next 3 nights, and then hopefully that shakes the cage a little bit to the issues that – and listen, the Sixers' issues are – and I don't want to go down a whole deep Sixers rabbit hole here because the Embiid stuff is just so frustrating. But for the most part, the Sixers are almost in a situation where you can't count on your best player. And because you can't count on your best player, what expectations do you really have? I don't think the coach has done a really good job of setting the culture. I don't think the team believes in him all that much. Flip side, look at the Flyers. The Flyers are now a team that there were questions somewhere in this season of whether Rick Tocchet was doing a good job and are they handling things the right way. Well, that's why you play 82, because you let the season kind of breathe and manifest. And you have a situation with the Flyers right now where I think the players believe. I think the Flyers players believe in what the coach is preaching. And somewhere along the line, this thing clicked. Somewhere along the line, this thing clicked. And now you have a team that is believing in everything that is being said here. 609-403-0973 on the Whitehorse RV text board. Get involved in the show. So Adam Schefter reports that A.J. Brown trade is likely. Flyers win, Sixers lose. But I want to get into this Rob Thompson and the Phillies thing. We're going to talk a little bit more about this coming up on the show. Dave Dombrowski, here is what he had to say. This is from 2022. And I want to give a hat tip to Phillies Tailgate, who posted this video. So Tyler over at Phillies Tailgate, make sure you follow them on Twitter, by the way. They're awesome. Phil's Tailgate is the Twitter handle, at Phil's Tailgate. He dug up this video, so I want to give him the credit for it. But I definitely think it was something that is worth listening to. This is Dave Dombrowski and what he said when Joe Girardi got fired. And he explained why they made the decision to fire Girardi on June the 3rd, 2022.
When the club looks lackadaisical, right? I've heard that comment. Well, a lot of times when you don't score runs, you look lackadaisical. And we weren't scoring runs for a while. So you don't have that. Most of your energy happens when it's on the base paths. That's just how the game is. So you can have a really good club and be in a position where you're not scoring runs, and people will say, gee, they look like they're dead. Well, it's not necessarily that they're dead. They're just not scoring runs, and that's where you go first to third, score from second to base hits. But I just thought overall that we just needed a little bit different voice and a little different energy.
Sound familiar what you're watching right now? a team that seems lackadaisical. Maybe they're not lackadaisical. It's hard to get excited when no one's on base. It's hard to get excited when no one's on base. So are they lackadaisical, or is there just nothing to cheer about? Is there nothing to be excited about? Well, he said, look, you just look like a team that offensively are just struggling right now. This is the team that is struggling right now. The 2026 Phillies are struggling right now. Let me give you some numbers on how bad they are struggling right now. Are you ready for some of these numbers? These numbers are just putrid. And listen, everybody can say, you said they were going to win this many games. How many games did you think they were going to win? 60? No. 70? No. 80? Doubtful. Everybody out there thought this team would win 88, 90, 93 games because nobody could foresee this. Batting average by position. Catchers, 195. First base, 247. Second base, 221. Shortstop, 254. Third base, 139. Left field, 231. Center field, 276. Right field, 205. And DH, 227. Their OPS by position. And OPS is really a stat that kind of gives you an indication. Their on-base percentage plus your slugging. So how often you're on base plus how often you're getting extra base hits. Catcher, 24th. First base, 12th. Second base, 24th. Shortstop, 17th. Third base, 29th. Left field, 21st. Center field, 10th. Right field, 21. And, of course, the DH was Schwarber, your number 2. They're not getting on base, and they're not having extra base hits. How do you score any runs? Their lineup last night, their number 4 hitter was hitting 205. Their number 6 hitter was hitting 139. Their number 7 hitter was hitting 193. And their number 8 hitter was hitting 038. Their 6, 7, and 8 hitters last night had an OPS of under 500. It got so bad that Bryson Stott changed his walk-up music, which I recommended before the season started, by the way. That him and Bohm need to change the walk-up music. Bohm needs a haircut. Bohm needs to grow up. Stott needs to grow up. It's time to take a step into the next generation of your career, and they haven't been able to do it. So let's listen to Rob Thompson last night talk about the frustration that is now in the Phillies locker room.
A lot of frustration. We're disappointed. We're frustrated. I know they're trying hard, sometimes trying too hard. So, but yeah, I think guys are upset. We're off to a slow start here, but it's going to get better.
Guys are upset. We're off to a slow start. It's going to get better. You go back to what Dombrowski said and you talk about lackadaisical. Now, let's go to the second part of what Dombrowski said back the day that they fired Joe Girardi, in that everybody takes responsibility. Take a listen.
Well, I take responsibility when the club is playing this way. I think we all take responsibility. I don't think anybody. I think the players take responsibility too. I know they're not happy with what's taking place. I do think we're a better club than this. I think we have our strengths and we have our weaknesses. When you're in a streak like we are right now, it has a tendency, the weaknesses have a tendency to be emphasized.
So we have a good club. And the reason I'm playing Dombrowski and then Thompson is the messaging seems lethargic. The messaging seems to be the same. We got a good club. I think we have a good club. And at some point, I think the players are like, I'm not sure we have a good club. I don't think you gave us enough players to have a good club. And I think they're frustrated that the top of the organization didn't do their job. Bryce Harper was already mad, but he insinuated, I thought we were going to get a better right-handed bat, and we went out and got Garcia. Didn't sound like a ringing endorsement that Bryce Harper was all that excited about the club. So I think part of this is I don't think the players believe they have a good club. They might have believed in the past. They may have believed in 2023 and 2024 and 2025 that they had a good club, but they kept falling short. And then they see the Dodgers go out and get Kyle Tucker, Edwin Diaz, who I know is struggling, but at the time your mental is these guys keep adding and look at what we're doing. and they enter spring training and they're thinking, how do we compete with that? Here's what Thompson said last night about why he stays. This is what upsets a lot of Phillies fans. They want a manager who's going to flip a table, go out and argue with the umpire, which you can't even do anymore, really, kick dirt, all of the stuff that the fans like. Thompson explains why he doesn't do that.
There are times when you have to straighten some people out, and we've done that. But for the most part, you got to stay positive and you got to believe in the club because there's talent here. It's not that we don't have talent; we've got talent. It just hasn't happened yet, but it's going to happen. Everybody's frustrated. I'm telling you, nobody's complacent. Everybody's working their tails off. Nobody's happy. We're not used to this. We're not.
So Thompson basically given the standard answer. We have a good club. We have talent. We think we're going to get out of this. But is that message the same message over and over and over again? And then he talked about the emotion and the lack of emotion that this team has and why it's actually a good thing.
Well, I mean, that's what you got to do as a professional. You got to take the emotion out of it. And this isn't football. It's not hockey where emotion can help you. In this sport, over-emotion can often hurt you. You got to take it out of it.
So that comment set a lot of people off. I will say, I understand what he's saying. Sometimes when you try too hard, that actually backfires on you in baseball. Because when you try too hard in baseball, you try to swing as hard as you can because you're so frustrated. You want to hit a ball out of the stadium. You end up swinging and missing because your head goes flying. You don't see the ball. So I think that's what he's really trying to say here is that you got to kind of take the emotion out of it. But that's the last thing that the fans want to hear. Larry Bowa never won anything as a manager, but I guarantee you the Phillies fans listening right now would flip-flop Larry Bowa into the managerial seat immediately if he would be willing to do it, even though he was the manager here and was not very good. Thompson doesn't show the fire and the emotion that most people want, and therefore he is not beloved as this fiery manager that the players want to play for. But even I can tell you, I think it's coming to the point where the Phillies have to make a decision on whether the voice from Rob Thompson is getting stale. You got the same guys here, and it's not getting better. Sometimes you need to take away something that they feel complacent and comfortable with. He says, we're not complacent. We're not comfortable. But the organization says differently. They didn't rattle the cage. They said the last 3 playoff failures have been acceptable. So we'll just bring everybody back. You lost to the Dodgers, you lost to the Mets, you lost to the Diamondbacks, and didn't make any changes to say that wasn't good enough. Let's make this change. Now, listen, change for the sake of change doesn't always work. Go ask our friends, the New York Mets. They got rid of Pete Alonso and brought in Bo Bichette. They went out and got, multiple people. They got rid of Nimmo. And they just said, you know what? We're not winning with those guys. Let's try different guys. And it's actually gotten worse for them. So just change it for the sake of change. It doesn't always work. But the Phillies got to figure something out here. You can't go 2-7 on a homestand and fly to Chicago and say, you know what? I think our offense is going to start picking things up. Where? Because here's the problem. You got Turner, you got Harper, you got Schwarber. Let's say those 3 guys start to crank it back up. Where are they getting any help behind them? Adolis Garcia, you want to hear his numbers? I mean, you talk about a guy who you're going to start wondering, what the hell's this guy doing here? He is 5 for his last 39 with 15 strikeouts. And as Bob Wankel tweeted, I like this. It somehow doesn't even stand out as a problem right now that Garcia's 5 for 39 with 15 strikeouts because they have so many other problems. 609-403-0973. UPS Geoff chimes in. He says, Mike, the players are getting Topper fired. Topper needs to chew their butts out there. But no, he keeps making excuses, and I don't think he can. That's the problem. Well, I will say this, Geoff. I do agree with your first comment. The players are going to get Topper fired because they're not playing very well, and Topper can't really do much to change the fact that Bohm is hitting 130 Stott's hitting whatever. I mean, these are the players that he's been given, and they're not performing. We don't know what Topper does behind closed doors. We have this, he did come out Saturday night and insinuated that, listen, there is accountability. These guys do get held accountable for stuff. I think we just see the Topper that we see in these press conferences and then equate that to him being that behind closed doors. Much like Andy Reid. Andy at the podium was very frustrating, but behind closed doors, Andy was a much different guy, according to reports. So I do agree, though, Geoff. I do think the players right now, you can't trade Harper. You can't move Stott. Nobody wants Stott. I mean, Stott, I've been saying for a couple of years. No, he's got no value. Bohm has no value. Marsh has very minimal value. Turner, no trade clause. Harper, no trade clause. JT, nobody wants that contract. You're not going to trade Crawford. Nobody wants Adolis Garcia. So you don't have anybody. There's no guy. There's nobody to move. You're in checkmate now. You spent all the money. These are the guys you bet on, and now they're not performing. Luzardo, you gave him $25 million, $27 million. He hasn't pitched well. You gave Taijuan Walker $18 million. He hasn't pitched well. In fact, he's been so bad they're going to use an opener for him on Wednesday. So you've got a lot of sunk cost right now that you really can't get out of. Can't get out of the Harper deal. Can't get out of the Turner deal. The Schwarber deal. I mean, Kyle Schwarber. By the way, Turner's here for like 4 more years. Real Muto just got a 3-year deal. How many more years is Nola here for? 4? I mean, these are a lot of big deals that they gave out. Paul from Millville. Mike, I'll say this on your show all season. The starting pitching is not good enough. I expect Wheel to return and be an ace again, and to expect him to come back and be an ace again is not practical. Let's stop right there. The Wheeler thing, you're right, Paul. He's not coming back to save this team and this rotation. He's barely touching 93 miles an hour. He got hit around at Double-A. I was thinking about this last night as I looked at Wheeler's numbers. Remember when Roy Halladay was Roy Halladay 1 year and then the next he just wasn't? Is that what you're going to get from Wheeler? Just this guy at the end of the line that just was a Cy Young candidate until he just wasn't again anymore? I hope not for Wheeler. I mean, that was a pretty big injury that he had. Paul from Millville goes on to say Nola is a bum and has been for years. He's been just average. Painter is young and has to work through his rookie season. Fair. Sanchez and Luzardo are just not as good as last year. Sanchez has been pretty good. He pitched well Saturday night, 3 unearned runs. I mean, that's a ground ball to second base. Edmundo Sosa has to play the ball. And he has to. And you get out of that inning. I mean, but the problem is you can't score 1 run and think you're going to beat the Braves. He goes on to say letting Ranger walk is looking like a catastrophic mistake now, and that's even with Ranger struggling this year. I take him over a guaranteed loss every time Walker takes the bump. Well, Walker had that contract that you really couldn't do anything with. Ranger got a massive deal. Now, you could have signed Ranger and then traded Luzardo to try to get some pieces back for Luzardo. That's a move that I think should have been explored. Give the money to Sanchez, a proven big game pitcher, and then go with Luzardo and say, does anybody want him, and see what he could have got you back in return. Sports Bash Live.
Here are the guys who are under contract for the longest term. So you have Aaron Nola, you're stuck with him until 2030. Kyle Schwarber till 2030. Harper till 2031. Luzardo till 2032. Turner till 2033. Sanchez till 2033.
It's a lot of long-term deals. All right, we're just getting started. Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. Game 2 tonight. You can listen to it on your home for Flyers playoff hockey, 97.3 ESPN, as the Flyers take on the Pittsburgh Penguins. Listen to all the action. It starts at 7 o'clock. When we come back, Mike McGarry will get his reaction from the weekend in Philadelphia. Phillies Fastball at 3, and a Mike and Bob Monday Phillies chat at 5 o'clock tonight. So we got you covered there. We got you covered on the Flyers. Kevin Durso will join us in the 5 o'clock hour. Plus, we got you covered. The latest on A.J. Brown. You'll hear what the experts think will happen. That's coming up at 3:30, plus football at 4. We're just getting started on a Monday edition of the Sports Bash. 2:31 Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. This hour of the show brought to you by the law office of Craig A. Altman, proud sponsors of Philadelphia sports coverage. A lot of Philadelphia sports going on. Sixers lose, Flyers win, Phillies swept. They are 6.5 games out of first place now in the National League. I know it's April, but is 6.5 games an insurmountable ask with this Braves team? Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City. The only team worse right now is the Mets, then the Phillies, but both teams feel like they are so far from contention, Mike. You saw the Phillies and Braves this weekend. Is a 6.5 game gap too much to overcome?
No, I don't think it's too insurmountable right now, but there's no denying how poorly the Phillies are playing. Mike, you started up. It seems everybody I could have retired if I had a nickel for everybody that either said to me in person or reached out to me on social media about the Mets. Well, the Mets have lost 11 in a row. They are a national embarrassment. How bad are the Phillies? They're only a game and a half ahead of the Mets. So if the Mets were to win today and the Phillies were to lose, they'd essentially be tied. And if you look at the underlying numbers, the Phillies are actually playing worse than the Mets. So in answer to your question, and we've seen this in the National League East the past couple of seasons. We saw it last year. The Mets on June 1st looked like they were going to run away with the division. The Phillies in 2024 on June 1st looked like they were headed for the World Series. Neither of those things worked out. So 6.5 games, not insurmountable. But I will say this, the Braves looked awfully good this weekend, and the Phillies did not.
Well, let's talk about that, because last year the Braves, they were out of it. They started 0-7 and never got back, and it was one injury after the next. Do the Phillies feel like one of those teams where this is just not their year?
Yeah, it does kind of feel that way, right? It feels like everything that can go wrong is going wrong. The closer, hurts his side. JT Realmuto hurts his back. When is he going to return? Zach Wheeler coming back off major surgery, a big question mark if you look at how he's thrown in his rehab outings. And then, Mike, I think the biggest issue with the Philadelphia Phillies, when I look at it, is just their young players, and they're not that young anymore, which makes it an even bigger problem. Bryson Stott, Bohm, Kirkring, these guys have not evolved into the players we thought they would be. If anything, they've actually gone backwards, not forwards. They've gotten worse, not better. And I think that is a huge issue right now with this team.
Mike, obviously the offense, they get one run on Saturday night from a kid that most people listening had never heard of before, and then they can't score again. Last night they get 2 runs on a guy that everyone's heard of before, and they could not score again. Do we look at this offense as fixable, salvageable, or you just laid it out? Bohm, Stott. The numbers on Adolis Garcia, 4 for his last 39, 15 strikeouts. Does this offense, do you see a light at the end of the tunnel?
That's the problem, Mike. I don't see a light at the end of the tunnel. And the reason why I don't see a light at the end of the tunnel is that this is not, in my mind, guys off to slow starts. This is a continuation of a trend. The Alec Bohm we're seeing right now is a worse version, but it's the Alec Bohm we saw last season. The Bryson Stott we're seeing is the Bryson Stott we saw the first half of last season. Garcia is coming off a couple of down years in Texas. So I'm thinking to myself, it's not like a guy like Bohm hit 30 home runs and knocked in 100 runs last year, and you can say to yourself, well, he's just having a bad April, and he will eventually pick it up. No, this is the guy we saw last year. So that's what troubles me. It is a continuation of a downward trend for many of these hitters.
All right, Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City, pressofac.com. Mike, you and I have known each other for years. We've talked a ton over the years, and it's a lot about this, that. But in Philadelphia, people hate managers. It's always the coach's fault. There is an article today from Ken Rosenthal that does suggest a possible hot seat for one Rob Thompson. And he essentially said it's not Thompson's fault per se, but somebody has to be the fall guy. Is it feeling like it's going down that road, and is it trending in that direction that Thompson might be in some trouble?
Yes, it is, Mike. And again, no inside reporting on this, but again, where there's smoke, there's fire. You have a guy like Kenny Rosenthal, a national baseball writer, kind of bringing it up in his column today on The Athletic. You have Don Mattingly. I know he said that he did not want to manage the team when he was introduced as the bench coach, that his days of managing were done, but he's sitting right there, a proven major league manager. And again, you can't fire all the players, so you end up getting rid of the manager and hoping that works. So you end up getting rid of a coach. But yes, in answer to your question, it does feel like it's headed down the path, that these teams are, the way the Phillies are losing, just like the way the Mets are losing, they're losing the types of games that get managers fired.
Well, obviously, yeah, and I agree with you. I mean, is Thompson on the highest of my list of the problems with this team? No, but you can't change the players. You're not getting rid of Harper and Turner and Schwarber and Realmuto and Nola and Wheel. I mean, they're just not going anywhere. So Thompson would be the guy. Dombrowski, they fired Girardi. It was June the 3rd in 2022, 22-28. Do you think they would wait that long this time around?
Yeah, I think they would not wait that long, but I don't think anything's going to happen, anytime, in the next couple of days. But to me, I think they're about to begin a big 10-game stretch right here that is key, and I think this will determine a lot of how management acts and things like that. They're in Chicago for 4. Then I think they go to Atlanta for 3 is 7. They come back and play the San Francisco Giants for 3 at Citizens Bank Park before heading out on the road again. I think after this 10-game stretch, I think all bets are off at that point if the Phillies continue to play the way they're playing. Now, Mike, I looked at this last night, and, to me, what I would do is I would give Bohm and Stott these 10 games to kind of turn it around. And if neither one turns it around, then I've got to make a change at that position. I just can't run those guys out there every day. Now, here's the problem. You look at the 40-man roster, there is nobody on the 40-man roster to replace Alec Bohm or Bryson Stott. So I don't know if Dave Dombrowski calls up another team and says, look, I've got a guy who's not hitting. Maybe you've got a guy who's not hitting. Let's trade those guys and hope a new place can, jumpstart both guys. But I think this is a key 10-game stretch. I give the Phillies these 10 games to kind of straighten them out. 4 games in Chicago, 3 in Atlanta, 3 in San Francisco. You'll probably have Wheeler back this weekend. Maybe he gives the team a boost. 3 quality opponents. Let's see what they do in this 10-game stretch. If they go 2-8 in this 10-game stretch, people are going to lose their jobs, I believe. If they go 6-4 or God forbid 7-3, maybe they can get themselves back on track a little bit. But I think these 10 games, if I was running the Phillies, this would be my, kind of last chance for guys on the current roster to kind of salvage some stuff.
Yeah, it's funny because you mentioned Bohm and Stott. They're the 2 young guys they haven't developed. The problem is Aiden Miller right now can't play either because he can't swing the bat. So you're wondering, if Bohm kept going through this and Miller was tearing it up down at AAA, would they make that type of move?
Yeah, absolutely. But the problem is you've got a guy, and again, this is everything that can go wrong is going wrong. You have a 21-year-old or 20-year-old top prospect down in the minor leagues who hasn't swung a bat since spring training began because of a bad back. Yet we're constantly told that there's no reason to be concerned about that. Backs are a problem no matter how old you are, and they're a big problem when you're 20 or 21 years old. So you're right. You look at the 40-man roster. There is nobody there to replace Alec Bohm and Bryson Stott. At the same time, kind of the old thing, we can lose with you or we can lose without you. If one of those 2 guys doesn't get their act in gear, before I would get rid of the manager or a hitting coach or something, I'd try to shake things up and send a message to the team by doing something with one of those 2 guys. The problem is, every game I've ever been to, somebody plays third base or second base, and there's literally no one on the roster, on the 40-man roster, that can do it.
No, and Mike, I said before that the kid Nori, let's just say he's definitively ready, the best hitter they have, and it's not even close. There's just no place for him to play. He hits left-handed. Right. He's an outfielder, so he's not going to play center over Crawford. You're probably not going to say, hey, Brandon Marsh, you're out because this kid's here. And I don't know what you do. You're going to put, let's say you move Marsh to right, and now you've got you got three left. I mean, you can't fit another left-handed bat into this lineup.
Right, exactly. I mean, you need a right-handed at-bat. This lineup has been crying out for a right-handed at-bat. But, Mike, here's the other thing, too. If you look at it, and I know people get on the Stars and stuff like that, and Trey Turner, but still, I'm going to give Trey Turner the benefit of the doubt. He did win the batting title last season. He's a guy I'll put some faith in that he can possibly turn it around. Schwarber hits a home run last night and then gets robbed on the game's final out. He might have knocked in the tying runs there, or even led to a rally if the right fielder of Acuna doesn't haul that ball in and make a great catch. So Schwarber's playing well. Harper's hitting the hell out of the ball. So it's not the guys making $300 million that are the issue. It's these other guys, that the Bohms, the Stotts, the Marshes to a degree, the young guys that they kind of put in there from the own organization have just not lived up to expectations or developed the way we thought they developed. And I, for one, that's why I'm giving it 10 days. I mean, how much longer can we watch Alec Bohm and Bryson Stott play? I mean, Alec Bohm is batting 140. He's batting 140.
Mike, it's gotten so bad that Alec Bohm changes walk-up music because everything is not A-OK.
Right, Bryson Stott, you mean, exactly,
Yes, Stott did,
and
yes.
I can see why he did that, because, Mike, I was there, lucky enough to be there in the height of 22 and 23 when he stepped to the plate and that walk-up music hit. The place would go absolutely bananas. It made Citizens Bank Park come alive. But when he's walking up to the plate, hitting whatever he's hitting with that song, it's just like it makes you roll your eyes. So
yeah,
I completely understand why he changed his walk-up song.
I tweeted this out during spring training. I said him and Bohm need to change, just get everything, because they're the two most recognizable songs, and when you hear them, you cringe. You got to just change the mojo. You got to kind of do, not that that's going to change all that much, but it kind of is a microcosm of all the problems. Phillies, they're out in Chicago. They'll take on the Cubs tonight. Aaron Nola gets the start. Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City, pressofac.com. We'll take a look back at this matchup and the whole matchup and everything that's going on. It's a busy time, man. We'll catch up with you on Wednesday.
All right, Michael, we'll see you down the road. Thank you.
You got it. Mike McGarry, everybody, from the Press of Atlantic City, pressofac.com, right here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. And, of course, you can watch the show live on the 97.3 ESPN YouTube channel. Just search 973 ESPN on the YouTube channel. When we come back, Flyers win, Sixers lose, A.J. Brown's on the move. Just made that up. Free flowing. You know what I mean? We got your text messages coming up. And the poll question, are you out on the Phillies? Are you done with the Phillies? At Mike Gill Show. Vote. We'll update the poll question coming up next. All right, 250 Phillies fastball coming up. We'll see what the guys think. Geoff was there, I think, both games this weekend. Geoff and Oscar, 3 o'clock Phillies fastball segment. We'll go inside the numbers and see what they suggest. This hour of the show is brought to you by the law offices of Craig A. Altman.
Listen, don't be like the Phillies and go up to the plate without a game plan. No, you got to go up to the plate when you get injured with a game plan with the best in the business. That's the law offices of Craig A. Altman. Tough cases, tougher lawyers. When you're injured on the job, you get into a car accident or anything that might happen that you did not foresee coming, you want to have someone who knows how to win these kind of cases. Call 856-327-8899, 856-327-8899. Yes, they have offices on Delsey Drive in Vineland, backed by a Philly law firm that knows how to win. The law offices of Craig A. Altman, proud sponsor of Philadelphia sports coverage right here on 97.3 ESPN.
Poll question is up. It's a simple one. Are you out on the Phillies? Done or still in? They're your options. Done or still in? Vote at Mike Gill Show. It's about 60-40 right now. Done or still in? Which way'd you go?
Oh, I'm done.
Wow.
I actually had a Phillies free zone for 3 hours on Hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN. I am out on this team. They gotta bring me back before I ever get back on board.
I'll tell you what, after the Flyers game Saturday night, okay, the joy that you got from watching them play, having to watch the Phillies Saturday the way they played with Felix Reyes hitting a home run, and that's the only run they scored. And Sixers first. And then saying, wow, the Sixers got crushed, but I think it might be worse tonight watching the Phillies.
Right.
It was just a brutal watch. Now, Schwarber hits the home run, and you're thinking, okay, we've all complained about them, and then Schwarber hits the home run, and they'll probably – no, they didn't score. They didn't score again. It was another day where they hit one home run, and that's the only runs they could muster. Not sustainable. Are you in or out on the Phillies? At Mike Gill Show, vote. It's about 60-40 right now. Let's see which way the people are going. It is 57% right now are done. 43% are hanging in there. So it's about 60-40 so far. 57-43 is the voting right now. Are you in or out on the Phillies? Done or still in? I will say this. I think that this road trip right here, because they've had one of the easiest schedules in baseball so far. Look, nobody could have predicted that you got guys hitting 139 and 039 and some of the batting averages on this team. But I don't know where you feel like you're getting any help. Garcia, nobody thought that Garcia was going to come here and really help you out. It was just, okay, he's right-handed, he plays right field, and he'll probably do whatever Castellanos does. And I got to be honest, Castellanos might actually offer more at the plate. And that's sad to say. That's sad to say. Now, Garcia is a hell of a lot better outfielder. There's no question about that. But I think Castellanos might offer more at the plate than Garcia does at this stage of their careers. And I can't even believe I'm saying that. This offense is bad, though. It is terrible. When we come back, Phillies fastball. What do the guys think? We'll talk to Oscar and Geoff. Our Phillies fastball segment here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. We got that. Plus, tonight at 5 o'clock, you'll hear what Bob Wankel thinks. It's a Mike and Bob Monday Phillies chat for your drive home tonight. Stick around for that as well. Don't forget, Thursday, we are live at the Balcony Bar at Ocean Casino Resort for the draft party. All right, 3 o'clock, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. Mike Gill with you. Our Phillies Fastball segment. We'll have Geoff and Oscar join the conversation. Phillies Fastball is brought to you by our friends at Ventnor Social. It's the place to catch every Phillies game, 20 big screen TVs all throughout the bar while enjoying your great food and drink specials. Visit them on Facebook for up-to-date info and specials. Plus, the Sports Bash will be there next Friday on the 30th for our Phillies day game watch party. Actually, that's Thursday. Next Thursday, not Friday. Next Thursday, a week from the draft. So this week, we'll be at Balcony Bar at Ocean Casino for the draft party. And then next Thursday, we will be at Ventnor Social. They bring you Phillies Fastball here on the Sports Bash. All right, Geoff and Oscar, rough weekend. Offense was brutal. Pitching, not great. Bullpen, you got the injury now to Duran. I don't know that anybody could have foreseen some of the offensive ineptitude here. Yes, we know they have some flaws, but the offense this weekend, huge problem. You get the home run from Reyes on Saturday, and that's it. You get the home run from Schwarber last night, and that's it. Geoff, you were there Saturday and Sunday. What are you seeing with this team right now?
They're pressing. They don't want to admit it, but they're pressing. They're trying to do too much. Everybody in the lineup is trying to overcompensate for somebody else. If it's not Kyle Schwarber and Bryce Harper trying to do it, it's Alec Boehm trying to do too much to get himself back on track. It's Bryson Stott trying to do something to get him back on track. It's a collective mess right now. They're not playing well in all three facets of the game. Offense, pitching, fielding. It's just a discombobulated mess right now. And if it wasn't for the New York Mets, there'd be a lot more talk about how the Phillies are the worst team in baseball.
Discombobulated mess, offense, pitching, everything. Can any of these things turn around?
I mean, you can turn it around in a day. The challenge is the mental part of this game, which is not easy. Look, the leaders needs to step up. I mean, that's where I would start. The leaders needs to step up, and some of the kind of the tier 2 guys that we call them. I mean, the Stodds, the Bombs of this world, the Garcias of this world, are going to have to support the entire team. I mean, and I'm very, very concerned. I mean, when you look at Turner, Harper has been hitting. The problem is that Harper and Schwarber, I mean, we depend too much on the home run. I mean, I was talking yesterday with Geoff about this on Phillies Weekly. We are the team that has the lowest at-bats with runners in the scoring position. The lowest at-bats with runners in the scoring position. We're number 30. We're below Cleveland. We are the 5th highest payroll in all of baseball. This is not supposed to be happening. And as Geoff is saying, they're pressing. And look, over the weekend, we were 0 for 16 with 0 for 12 with runners in scoring position.
Well, there's a lot here, guys. There's a lot of meat on this bone, obviously. And last night after the game, Rob Thompson said, you can't have the emotion like football and hockey. Sometimes too much emotion works against you. Of course, the fans are saying this team is lifeless, and they point at the manager. Many people want change. A lot of people wanted Thompson out 2 years ago. He has been back. I don't look at Thompson as the part of the reason why they're struggling. But if you have to change something, is Thompson's laid-back nature part of the reason why they might need a change? Do they need somebody with a different voice?
The problem is the fans think you're going to get Dallas Green to replace him. They don't exist anymore. Who replaces?
Well, Geoff,
Rob
I asked the question, how many World Series did Larry Bowa win? And he would kick dirt and flip tables.
Yep.
I agree with what you're saying, but we all know how this works. If it's the same message and I can't change the players, somebody has to be changed. Otherwise, you saw that ballpark last night. You saw it Saturday, and I saw the ticket prices. You could get in that building last night for $15. I don't know when the last time was.
I wouldn't want to
you
get
could
in that
there.
building. It was 40 degrees and raining. I wouldn't want to get in that building either.
Jeff, you know this, and I know this, though. Those Philly fans were sitting in that cold weather when this team was performing. They don't believe in this team anymore.
In April? In April?
Yeah,
No,
they've been sold out every single game for 5 years.
Weren't. I can say this as someone who's had season tickets for a long time, especially on Sundays. No, they do not come on Sunday nights in April. I don't care.
Okay, well, maybe they don't, but what I will say is this, something I haven't seen, $15 tickets. They were begging people to go to those games. They were begging people. And by the way, it was emptied out on Saturday night as well. They people left.
I mean, people are upset. I mean, and the weather yesterday was awful too. I mean, it was pretty cold out there. Look, the bottom line is we are what, April 20th?
Yeah.
We're April 20th. We are in a hole. We're 6.5 games behind the Braves, which is a big hole. We created this hole, and we said it on Friday. If they lose 2 or 3 games against the Braves, the hole is going to be a lot deeper. Well, the Mets hole is even deeper. They're 0 for 10 in the last 10 games. They have an 11-game losing streak. I mean, it is pitiful. I mean, the reality is we have not played good baseball. Nobody has played good baseball. And don't tell me that Schwarber hitting a home run every 3 or 4 days is going to be the solution. I mean, again, the same issue. We scored 2 runs. We don't score the entire game, because there's not complementary. There are not other guys that are supporting this effort. There needs to be a team effort, not just an individual effort.
Yeah, and that's where I agree with Oscar with the whole team concept, right? It's a bunch of individuals trying to not perform for themselves. They are trying to perform for the team, but I think they're trying to do too much for the team. I think there's too much pressure on a Christopher Sanchez or a Jesus Cesar to go out there and throw 6 shutout innings right now. And that's just not the reality of it. The pitching, I feel like they're walking on, what's the word? They're walking on ice. Yeah, eggshells. Thank you. Yeah, they're on thin ice. The hitting, I mean, look at Alec Bohm. Look what he's doing right now, or not doing. Look what Bryson Stott is not doing. There's just too many guys not doing anything. I don't know if it's going to turn around. That's where I'm concerned, because Alec Bohm, we know he's on borrowed time right now. He will not be here.
Well, the question here, I'll throw you this, guys. Why don't you make a trade? Why don't you trade some of these underperforming guys, even if you have to pay a cost for it? And you could trace, you can change somebody that needs to change in scenery for somebody that needs to change in scenery, and just
listen. Oscar, I think a lot of the fans are saying that. Why not do something different? Why not change up? Jeff, did they try to trade Alec Bohm or Bryson Stott in this offseason and just didn't have a lot of interest?
They tried to trade Alec Bohm. It's you the fan thinks he's bad. Guess what? Major League Baseball thinks he's just a guy. Yeah. That's the reality of it. And
there might be another guy. What I'm saying is there might be another guy that needs a change of scenery.
Well, I'll tell you what, Oscar. I think the other guy hasn't swung a bat yet. That's the problem.
Well, here's the other thing, and Oscar and Jeff, I'll ask both you guys. You can't trade Harper. Stott doesn't have very much value at all. Trey Turner, you probably can't trade him. Bohm, not a lot of value. Brandon Marsh, maybe some value. You could try to move him. Obviously, Crawford, you're not looking to trade. Adolis Garcia, obviously, I mean, you could DFA him at this point.
We're talking Alec Bohm. I mean, let's not go around the.
I agree.
What we're talking about.
But what I'm saying is, you're talking about making trades. I don't think there's anybody on this roster that you could say is tradable.
I don't disagree. I mean, I don't disagree. It's part of the issue. Some of them make too much money, and the other ones that don't make any money, they're not good enough. I mean,
I'll tell you what. If you really want to get me fired up with the trade, you trade a starting pitcher. And I'll tell you who I trade: the guy who makes $27 million a year. I'm sorry, I would have traded Jesus Cesar this offseason if you want to be honest. That is unacceptable what he's doing. I don't care. You make that much money, you can't pitch that bad.
Well, there was a lot of people, Jeff, that thought, why not just give the money to Suarez and try to trade Luzardo while he had the value to try to get some pieces back to your lineup. Instead, they let Suarez walk and gave the money to Luzardo,
I'm fine with Luzardo, guys. I don't have a big issue on Luzardo. I mean,
I don't either, but I'm telling you, you have to pitch like a $27 million pitcher. You can't be doing this. This is unacceptable what he's doing. I don't like it. Like, you can't have these hiccups. You can't.
Yeah,
talking about hiccups, look at the numbers, guys.
Oscar, he has done this in the past. He gave up 20 earned runs in 2 starts last year. That is unacceptable. You are a big league pitcher. You're making $27 million a year now. You have to figure it out. You can't be doing this.
Oscar, as you know, and Geoff, you're fired up about it, and I like it, which is their pitching has not been great, although last night they gave up 4 runs. The night before, Christopher Sanchez gives up no earned runs, and they lose the game. So
exactly. It's the offense. Let's be
his
real.
ERA is incredible, by the way. Christopher Sanchez ERA, it's like on the floor. It's like 1.5. I mean, it's incredible. But look at the week, guys. We scored 3.67 runs. Remember, I tell you, we have to score per game at least 4 runs. And then we allow 7.33 runs the entire week. I mean, 2-4 and 1-5 the last 2 weeks. Incredible.
That goes to Jeff's point is the pitching has not been what you had hoped it would be. It's turned around these last Painter pitch well, Sanchez pitch well. But outside of that, yeah, you're not getting what you thought from the rotation.
And you know what? Painter, too, you have to give them 5 innings. You have to give this team 5 innings. You do. You can't be getting out of the game in the 5th.
You know what's funny? Last night they were talking about it getting to 100 pitches, and I looked at the scoreboard and I said, man, they're talking about this, and it's only the 5th inning, and he was at 70 pitches last night, and obviously, right, the length from him not there. And I'll tell you, the other thing, you take a look at Zach Wheeler's start yesterday was not encouraging that you just pop him into the rotation and things are going to change.
It was too cold. I heard it was too cold. Providing excuses, come on, guys. The guy didn't have it yesterday, period. I mean, it's not a cold or hot.
No, and I agree with you on that. By the way, Zach Wheeler's openly admitted his fastball will not be there when he comes back. He's taken pride in getting guys out the major league way when you don't have your A stuff. We'll see how that works. But I'll defend Oscar and Luzardo here. That 7.94 ERA will not last the whole
No,
time.
Listen, I think we all think that, and here's the question I have for both of you guys. I think we all think that Luzardo will turn it around, and Turner will get hot.
I agree. I think he'll be fine in the long run. But you just can't have these hiccups. That's
but we're saying this about all these guys. We go to, and Oscar, if you could switch to the hitters, we all think that Luzardo's going to turn it around, and we think that Turner's on base is going to be, and Bohm's going to be better, and Stott's going to be better, and maybe they're just not all these guys. Maybe Luzardo might, but is Turner's on base going to get better? Is Garcia? He's been dreadful. Garcia, 15 strikeouts in the 4-hole there. Bohm, 139. I mean, holy moly. Stott, 207.
I mean, look at by position. They're 29th in baseball in OPS from third base.
Guys, look at this. So you guys can cry.
Oh, yeah, this is ugly.
Oscar
showed me this last night.
Start crying, Mike. Start crying. Look at this. Look at the OPS by batter.
Yeah.
I don't know why I just betted on Jesus Luzardo when I saw this. Like that. He's like 20th on the list of their problems right now.
Well, you're right about that. The pitching, I think we all agree that the pitching will probably come back to form and be very good. But I don't know about you guys on where you think the hitting is going to improve. And by the way, Turner, his on base 304 as a leadoff guy, that's unacceptable. The only 2 guys who are basically performing at the top of the lineup, you got Schwarber and you got Harper, who have been good. Harper, not great. Harper. But the rest of this lineup, I mean, where are the answers?
I was being a jerk last night when I posted about the 4, 6, 7, and 8 hitters last night because I'm like, look, you want to see why the Phillies can't score? It's right in front of you. This is why they can't score. By the way, JC Realmuto is out an extended period of time. You really going to roll with Marchand?
Ooh, yeah, Marchand has 1 hit in the season.
But I don't know who you go. I don't know who you go with. Remember, Marchand started out bad last year, too, if you remember.
Yeah, but part of the reason I give the Phillies some of the flack here for Marchand is they never play the backup catcher enough for him to get any rhythm. They played Realmuto way too much over the years, and now Realmuto, look, this is a thing. They're saying he had back stiffness, and they showed the play, and you're like, that's a result of an older guy playing too much that kind of flared up on him the next day.
Look at catching up to this team.
What was that?
Is age catching up to this team?
I mean, it could a little bit, but I mean, look, Schwarber and Harper. I mean, they're hitting conceptually, at least on paper.
Yeah.
Garcia did not have a hit all weekend. He got on base 4 times via base on balls. March is now getting on a slump.
Yep.
Because I mean,
he faced lefties on back-to-back days, and he couldn't get a hit.
Yeah, exactly. So
so telling us what we already know, what we've been trying to say. All three of us have been trying to tell people all season.
It's a flawed lineup. I mean, what are we going to say? I mean, and look, Baum and Stott, we expect much more from you guys.
Right. Well, and it's so flawed. It's so flawed. I'm a proponent of using younger players if they're ready. Like the kid Nori, to me, he can hit. The problem is,
he can hit. Yeah.
Where are you going to put him in this lineup? He's left-handed.
I am going to tell you guys this is from someone in the organization who has seen a lot of good players come through Reading over the last couple of years. This person has told me Nori may be the best one. And keep in mind, this is with Justin Crawford and Aiden Miller and Andrew Painter.
I don't doubt it, Geoff.
And I'm like,
I don't doubt it. That kid to me just looks like one of those guys who just could hit. Now, the problem is he's left-handed, and he plays the outfield. You've already got Crawford in center. You've got Marsh in left. I mean, are you going to go with 3 left-handed bats in the outfield? Because I have no problem, replacing Garcia at this point.
I don't like Bryce second, but I don't disagree that this might be an interesting change to make right away.
Yeah, Mike. I
Kyle Schwarber lead off, Turner second, and Harper third. To start changing things. I mean, you need to start changing things. If you keep the same thing and expecting different results, you know what that is. I mean, it's crazy.
Insanity.
That is
exactly. So I like. Hi, Michael. Michael is actually in the West Coast, but I like the idea of moving Schwarber to the leadoff spot and trying to start moving some things around.
Yeah, I know what? And if you ask Rob Thompson, he would give you the answer I would give you.
All right, this is the fine answer. Look, this is the fine answer. Straight Wheeler for O'Neill Cruz.
I'm gonna want him.
No, thank you.
Well, listen, they by the way, as we're doing this, the lineup is not out for a 7:40 start tonight against the Cubs. I'm interested to see after a 2-9 trip. Now today, The Athletic posted an article that basically puts Rob Thompson now on the hot seat. I mean, Ken Rosenthal writes the article, guys, whether it's fair or unfair, he was mentioned as a manager who could be replaced, and you wonder if that's enough to say, I got to really make some shakeups to this lineup starting with tonight.
Does Don Mattingly, fix things?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, what?
I don't think, and he mentioned Mattingly, he also mentioned Dusty Wathan, because he mentioned that Mattingly's in a tough spot because I'm
a big Dusty Wathan guy. Like, I've known Dusty for a long time. I hope someday he does get a shot.
Yeah,
maybe
Dusty's
it will happen.
Great guy.
But I'm telling you, this is not Rob Thompson's fault.
Oh, listen, I think all three of us would agree. This is not Rob Thompson is the biggest problem on this team. Now, there's a lot of people listening to us and watching us right now who think he is the problem. Me, you, and Oscar do not agree, Geoff. But as we know, sometimes when you can't trade or change anything, look, he can stack this lineup 6 ways to Sunday. It's not producing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, put Kyle Schwarber lead off. I think it more than the concept is what it will do. It might change things. You got to move things around. I mean, I would even try Crawford lead off. I mean, if need be, but you have to move some things around. So, and I know he's not been hitting well the last few days, but we just need to things needs to start feeling different.
Yeah, with Oscar, I don't want the future of Justin Crawford hindered because the guys on this team above him can't perform. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, it's you got to change things up. I mean,
by the way, I know everybody likes to blame Dave Dombrowski for everything, but I keep going back to
players, guys.
Yeah. What did you want him to do? Is it his fault Nick Castellanos can't? He's not here. Like, you're paying the guy, $17 million to not be here?
Well, listen, I think there are a lot of flaws to this roster that they have stayed pretty complacent with, and we've all been talking about these flaws for 3 and 4 years now, correct?
Yeah. I mean, the issue continues, guys. Chase rate. I mean, if you go chase rate, our whiff rate, we strike out too much. I mean, we don't get enough. I mean, it's the same thing always. I mean, it's
not. Guys,
you know what? Oscar and I joked 2 years ago when we started Phillies Weekly how the chase rate was down, they weren't hitting. The chase rate went back up, and they started hitting.
Well, listen. The Dombrowski portion of this is pretty interesting because he's another guy that I think a lot of people are just tired with because of the messaging. The message is, we have a good club. We like our club.
We're
complacent with our club. Right. So, Geoff, you got to admit that messaging wears on the fans if you're not competing. And now, here's the problem. They get Bryce Harper. They give him this deal. Well, 4 years left with that deal. You're looking at it and say, yikes, we're kind of locked. Trey Turner, who I never saw as a $300 million player in his best of best years.
Yeah, you've been consistent with that for a long time, by the way.
Yeah, and you have him locked in here for 5 more seasons. The JT contract, you're already looking at that and wondering, what is this going to look like 2 years from now? They were kind of backed into a corner with Schwarber because if he walks, what does this team look like? But then you give Nola that contract. Now you give Luzardo a big contract. He's given a lot of contracts to guys that are locked in here that is not only making this season look grim, but future seasons now will look very similar because you can't get out of these deals.
This team won 96 games last year.
And 95 the year before.
And then 95 the year before.
Yeah.
And they won.
That's why I got mad when... That's why
it's still early. I know it's not. It's still early, but not that early. So get going. Get going.
But that's why I got mad when people were getting on we're content with our club. Well, I'd be content with 96 wins too. I'm sorry, baseball playoffs are a crapshoot, but people like the October watch.
Do you want to be the Nationals?
October.
Do you want to be the Nationals? Do you want to be the Colorado Rockies? Look, I appreciate what Middleton, what Dave Dombrowski, and what Thompson have brought to this team. We've been in the postseason the last 4 or 5 years. We've done a great job. Building the core. Look, we have won games. I'm not worried about it. Now I'm a little worried because of the beginning, but I think it's a funk. We're going to get out of the funk, and this team is going to hit. There's too much talent in here.
I'm a guy that this is why I kind of leave my emotions where they are, and I can get emotional, but sometimes it's just not your year, right? And I think where I go to that is, and look, it's still early, but when you're getting guys like JT Realmuto hurt, Johan Duran hurt, Zach Pop hurt. I know it's Zach Pop, but Jonathan Bola, guys in the bullpen, this happens a lot. There's a lot of injuries on this team.
The Braves.
It went from
The Braves had it last year, where they
Braves
just had
it last year, and look how good they are
injuries.
now.
Right, they had so many injuries they just could not overcome, and then that could be what's going on with the Phillies right now.
And you know what? And in fairness, the Braves did change their manager too.
And I told you we needed to win the Washington-Colorado series, and wipe them out, and then the Diamondbacks. Now you find out yourself that you have to go to Chicago to play for, then Atlanta, then San Francisco. Thank God it's in Philly, not in the House of Horrors.
One of the interesting parts about the slow start to the season, 8-13, 2-7 at home, is they've had one of the easier schedules in baseball so far.
That's the point.
Yeah.
That is the point.
And that's what we were concerned about 2 weeks ago.
Right, if not the easiest schedule in baseball, and this is all they've had. Listen, we've all watched it, and we talked about it. Oscar, they bring up Felix Reyes. Let's talk a little about him. The kid has a big night. He hits a home run, and people are excited. The next night, he's not even in the lineup, and that's where an idea where I say, you know what? The kid provided a little spark. Maybe play him in right field and have Garcia sit down for the night. Instead, the guy who hits the home run and gives you the only energy for the night, he's not playing. And as Oscar, you hinted at earlier, when's he going to play again? I don't know. So if anybody thinks that Felix Reyes come up is going to give this team a spark, he just is going to be in the same position that Kemp was, not playing enough.
I like Jeff message. I'm speechless. I don't know what to say.
You know what bothers me about this 8-13 start, if we're going to be honest? It's going to take them, maybe 2 or 3 weeks just to even get back to 500.
And you lost your closer.
Yep.
Johan Duran is out with that grade 2, not the lowest grade, a grade 2 strain oblique. He might be out a month. With his injury.
Just think about Joel Embiid. He had an oblique. He missed 13 games. Now, I know Joel Embiid's probably a little different, but he was out for multiple weeks.
He was out for a while. Yeah.
Yep. Real quick, guys.
Felix
tonight.
Felix is Felix. He's going to hit. They're going to give him opportunities. We're going to have 2 lefties against, and we'll show the matchup in a minute. We're going to have 2 lefties. He's going to have the opportunity to hit. The question, can he do it consistently, and can he make a big difference? This guy, we know he's hit. It's Porter always told me this guy's a hitter. This guy's a hitter.
Well, can he hit at this level?
Apparently, yes. I mean, with the home run against Chris Sale, I mean, it's a good start for him. Now
it was. I will say he hit the home run off Sale, and then after that, it looked like Chris Sale said, "All right, buddy, try to take a look at some of this stuff." And as they put out on the broadcast, yeah, he hasn't seen sliders like that. Yeah, so we'll see.
And look, to Felix Reyes' credit, this guy was just outfield death in the minors 2 years ago.
Exactly. Bingo.
Yeah. He
you're
got
making
better.
the point, though. You're making the point, though, Geoff. I'm telling the listeners, I wouldn't hope that you think that Felix Reyes is going to help save this offense.
No,
that's all.
Or as I like to tell people, and like it's funny, like a lot of my Phillies contingent likes when I tell people this. Felix Reyes, you could have been walking next to in the Target last year, and you wouldn't know who he was.
Absolutely. Real quick. They have made a decision on Taijuan Walker. He will have an opener for him on Wednesday.
He still has to pitch the first.
You scared me for a second. I thought there was some bigger news coming out.
Oscar and I talked about this last night on Phillies Weekly. What do you do with him when you go back to the 5-man rotation? Zach Wheeler comes back.
I mean, realistically, guys, they're in a bind because they're paying him $18 million, and they really don't. I mean, other than Rangel, who's pitching well, they don't have another guy for depth to be a fill-in starter if they need one. He's really
and
the
Gene
only
Cabrera
guy.
ain't it either. He's got like an AERA right now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there is no other guy.
History tells you you're going to need him.
Exactly, Oscar. Someone else is going to get hurt. Someone's going to miss a start.
Yeah.
And realistically,
maybe
Walker,
Connor Gillespie. It might be Connor Gillespie.
For $18 million, Connor Gillespie.
Not yet. I don't think in the beginning. I think they're going to keep him there. If things turn ugly throughout the year, then you can give a chance to a younger guy.
This is my whole Taijuan Walker philosophy, honestly. You're paying him, you might as well just keep him around.
Well, and people always complain, and this is, they complain, why does Thompson start him? I said, don't blame Thompson. If the GM has him on the roster, that's who has to pitch. He's making $18 million, so if he's here, an $18 million guy ain't just sitting around collecting dust. He's going to have to. So until the GM gets rid of him, Thompson's going to have to keep trotting him out there unless
it's like
Wheeler comes
Garcia.
back.
Yeah, it's like Adolis or Nick Castellanos last year. They basically played him until he had to be a part-time player.
And let's manage the expectation. Let's manage the expectation of Zach Wheeler when he comes. He needs.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Let's manage those expectations. We're not going to see a Zach Wheeler we've been seeing the last few years. It's going to take him some time to get to his real game shape.
It may take him all year.
All right.
It might.
Series number 8, Phillies and Cubs, Wrigley Field tonight. It is Nola.
We're only in series number 8.
Mike, let me finish with a good note here. Nola is 7-2 against and 4-1 at Wrigley Field. 7-2 against the Cubs and 4-1 in Wrigley Field. So that's good news.
All right, we'll get out on that one. Good stuff, guys. All right, Oscar and Geoff, appreciate it as always. They're back tomorrow with more Phillies Fastball. It's brought to you by Ventnor Social, the place to catch every Phillies game. 20 big screen TVs. We'll be there next Thursday for the Phillies watch party. Stop out and enter to win a road trip to Baltimore's Camden Yards to see the Phillies play the Orioles. All right, coming up, Geoff was fired up today there talking about Luzardo. He was not happy with Luzardo. A little fire. Maybe Geoff should be the manager. He'll show a little fire in the dugout. All right, coming up, A.J. Brown will be a Patriot. We'll explain coming up. All right, 335 Sports Bash Live. This hour is brought to you by Broadlee's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. It's a trusted source for heating, plumbing installation. 609-390-3907. Online, broadlees.net. Did we have a qualifier whose name was Courtney Love?
We did, yes.
That's great. See Courtney Love on Thursday at the draft party.
What are the odds, right?
I guess not good. But I was a fan of Hole, so touche. All right, A.J. Brown, it looks like he's going to get traded, and it will be post-June 1st. That according to Adam Schefter. This is what Adam Schefter says this morning on what show?
On Get Up.
Get Up.
The two sides are tracking to make a deal happen post-June 1st. When the New England Patriots and the Philadelphia Eagles, the two sides have not committed to a deal, but they are likely to make that happen post-June 1. A.J. Brown would like to be traded. The Philadelphia Eagles are open to trading him. The New England Patriots have wanted him all along. It's hard to see another team jumping in, but you never know what could happen over the course of the next 5 or 6 weeks.
So it sounds as if everything that Diana Rossini told us at the Super Bowl right here on the Sports Bash is essentially what Adam Schefter is now telling us here on April the 20th. So let's hear further about what Adam Schefter thinks about this draft and what happens with pick number 23 if the Eagles would go that route.
Now it'll be interesting to see if the Philadelphia Eagles would look to address the wide receiver position in the draft this week, or whether they feel it's sufficient to have gone out and signed Elijah Moore, Hollywood Brown, and traded for Dontavian Wicks.
Yeah, so they remade the wide receiver room, and they are now preparing to move on without A.J. Brown. And if they draft a guy on draft night, that will be the nail in the coffin for A.J. Brown's future in Philadelphia. So when will this trade occur? Well, it sounds like post-1st, June 1st. It sounds like they haven't talked recently, but they'll pick up conversations. But they could possibly make another trade when it comes to this A.J. Brown stuff and setting themselves up to make that deal.
That may just be the start for the Eagles, because A.J. Brown obviously is waiting to happen, but the Eagles always have a trick or two up their sleeve. Now, they had spoken to the Vikings about Jonathan Grenard, the pass rusher. Those talks have lost steam. I'm not so sure that trade is going to happen. But I think there are a handful of other scenarios that the Eagles have in mind, and it wouldn't be surprising to see them pull off another trade outside the A.J. Brown trade that will not happen this week and until June 1st.
That's the
heading into the draft this week.
Sorry, that's the trade that I'm more interested in at this point right now. To me, it's almost a done deal that A.J. Brown will not be here, and they have kind of prepared for it. But what they haven't done is really prepared for what they're going to do at edge rusher. So the A.J. Brown stuff, to me, when I had Diana Rossini on at the Super Bowl, I didn't think she was lying. I didn't think she was making stuff up. I took her at her word. I took her at her reporting that she had been told that AJ was going to be moved and wanted to be out and that New England was interested. So, however she got the information, I believed it. So from February, now my question has always been, I don't see how it makes sense to trade A.J. Brown if you're not getting a player back in return. So now I want to see how that deal is situated. But could they trade A.J. Brown, use some of the assets from that deal to try to do something? The problem is that deal won't occur until after the draft. So what do they do between now and Thursday, potentially? That is going to be the interesting story for me, is how they get an edge rusher, because I don't think there's an edge rusher in this draft that makes you outstanding. It doesn't. Not really. I don't think there's an edge rusher that you would get at 23 or even where they would trade up to that you would be, your room would be all that better.
No, everyone after the top 10 are pretty much either developmental type athletes, like like Jelix Hunt, for example, those type of players, or you're drafting someone who's just got limitations.
Yeah, I mean, if they had the by the way, so interesting trade yesterday. The Giants get the 10th pick in the draft. for Dexter Lawrence.
Right.
And people are like, oh, my God, you got the 10th pick for Dexter Lawrence. That tells me that Cincinnati says there's not a player in this draft that's anywhere close to Dexter Lawrence.
Correct.
So they're willing to say, you can have the 10th pick in the draft, and everybody gets excited about the young, the new, the draft choice. But they're saying what's behind door number 2 isn't better than what's behind door number 1.
Correct.
We'll take Dexter Lawrence. That's where I think the Eagles are. Whatever's behind door number 2 is not going to be better than probably Jonathan Grenard.
Because once you get past the Reuben Baines, the Arvell Reeses, the David Baileys, like those 3, no one's excited about the rest of these guys. I'm sure there's some team out there that maybe loves like a Cassius Howell or something, but no one's sitting there like, I got to trade up to get this guy. Because as you said, if the Bengals are willing to trade that pick, that tells you everything.
Yeah, I think the Bengals said, you can have pick 10 because we don't think we can find a player at pick 10 that will be anything close to Dexter Lawrence. So that's why they end up making that trade. And quite frankly, I like to trade for the Giants because Dexter Lawrence wasn't going to sign, and they get the 10th pick in the draft. So I do understand why the Giants do it as well. I'm just saying I understand it from the Bengals' standpoint as a team that's been dreadful defensively.
Right, it makes sense for both sides.
Yeah, but I probably like it better for the Bengals.
Just because they get a proven commodity.
Yeah, I like the player better than what I think that the Giants are going to get. Now, the Giants have 5 and 10.
Correct.
So that sounds exciting. But I don't think, quite frankly, I don't know that 5 or 10 is better than Dexter Lawrence.
Yeah.
A player.
Probably not. Unless you get a home run with all these offensive linemen. Like if you finally find your left tackle of the future or something,
Yeah, like if you were drafting the Giants right now have 5, probably, I don't know, could they can go in a variety of directions. But I don't think they're getting a player, especially at 10. Oh, they could get Caleb Downs at 10, I guess.
Yeah, if he falls that far, true.
He would be a player that you weren't going to get.
Right, he's
probably
immediate
wouldn't
impact.
take at 5. Maybe you could. I don't know.
His draft stock is all over the place, depending on who you ask.
So, to me, what's more curious now is what the Eagles are going to do to get better at edge rusher, because it seems that they are now resigned to the fact that they are going to trade A.J. Brown. And this is Adam Schefter kind of ranting about that very possibility.
Yeah, I need to know who is going to be better after this. Do you like Schefter's rant on A.J.
Let's hear
Brown
it.
or Jeff Kerr's rant on Jose Luzardo?
Listen, you don't get to this point, operate talking to teams about a potential A.J. Brown trade. They were talking to the Rams at one point. It didn't happen. They obviously have spoken at length to the Patriots. Both sides have not committed to it, but it's too far down the line for this not to happen. Do you think the trade is not going to go through eventually on June 1st once they can commit to it? Of course it will, because they can't allow it, all this talk to happen, and then say to A.J. Brown, oh, we're very sorry. The talks with the Patriots fizzled out at the last moment. It didn't happen. You're coming back to Philadelphia. It's not practical. It's not realistic. We all have to operate now as if A.J. Brown is going to be dealt to the New England Patriots.
So, yeah, his point is now the speculation has been running rampant since the end of the season. The player pretty much understands you're moving me, and if you don't, there's going to be problems.
And again, it goes back to what Jeff McClain and Albert Birch a couple months ago in the Uncovering the Eagles pod. We played the audio mic, which is once you get to this point, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. You can't just be like, whatever, don't worry about it. We only tried to trade you for 3 months.
Yeah, I know this, that if there is a deal that these two teams have already felt comfortable with, that Howie Roseman knows it and has begun to build the room thinking that A.J. Brown will not be here, and you see those moves. Wicks, Brown, and then, of course, we have Thursday night. And we're going to get into the Thursday night all throughout this week here on the Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. We have so much more to get into as draft week is here. Jeff Mosher from the Inside the Birds podcast will join us coming up at Football at 4, plus Sal Paolantonio Thursday at 5 o'clock before the Eagles make their pick. Hear what Sal Pal thinks they'll do. Sal Pal will join us on Friday, the day after they make their pick, and get us ready for the second and third rounds. And if anything happens, of course, we have football at 4 all week long. Plus, we'll talk more draft throughout the week with you guys on the Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. When we come back, it is today's Unsportsmanlike Moment of the Day. Do the Eagles, are they in a good position right now? That's next.
The Eagles are in a really good spot here because they've added receiver depth. So they have Hollywood Brown, Elijah Moore. They made that move for Dontavian Wicks. And financially, it's advantageous for them to wait till post June 1 because of that $40 million salary cap would be split over 2 years. And also, let's bring back what Courtney just was talking about this year's draft. If people are not enamored with this year's draft, if you're the Eagles, I don't need to rush to get something done. And I can wait till financially it's better for me. And then I could get potentially capital for a future draft where I feel better about the crop of talent that's coming through. So they were really smart to add depth, which allows them to be patient in order to wait until post June 1 to make this move.
That was our good friend Michelle Smallman, our Unsportsmanlike Moment of the Day, brought to you by Key Acura of Atlantic City. Go see my guy Rocco and see for yourself why South Jersey's largest ADX volume dealer is Key Acura of Atlantic City. Now through April 30th, they can get you in a sleek, sporty 2026 Acura Integra for just $199 a month for 36 months. Get to Key Acura, Tilton Road, Egg Harbor Township. Visit KeyAcuraOfAtlanticCity.com. See what all the excitement is about. Well, what Michelle Smallman just said right there, she thinks the Eagles are in a good position in the wide receiver room based on everything they've done. Now, we've talked a lot about it with Mosher and Kaplan and DeCecco during Football at 4. Is a Wicks Hollywood Brown room with Devontae Smith good enough? And everybody has kind of indicated they're not done yet, that wouldn't be enough. But is it enough? I look at Seattle with Jackson Smith and Jigba. He's a stud. But they don't have a whole heck of a lot of other guys there. They went out and made a trade and got a one-trick pony. They don't have a complimentary number 2, really. So can the Eagles get by? And look at the Packers over the years. They had Wicks and Romeo Dobbs and a whole bunch of guys out there. Christian Watson, right. They had a bunch of, guys. The Eagles have Devontae Smith. I think we have to understand that the Eagles think that Smith could be a number 1 guy. And that's why she thinks they're in a good spot, because they had the foresight to say, okay, let's go out and try to get some, maybe not number 1s, but we have Smith. He can be our guy. And then these guys could be number 2, number 3, and they can all fill those roles. Something we really haven't had here. Wide receiver depth. So are the Eagles in a good spot, like Michelle Smallman says? That is our Unsportsmanlike Moment of the Day. Listen to Unsportsmanlike weekday mornings 6 to 10 right here on 97.3 ESPN. I think that she's not off base, though, and especially if they draft somebody. Much like Tampa Bay did. They had Godwin and they had Evans, and then they went out and got they drafted a guy in the first round last year.
Oh, Emeka Ibuka.
Ibuka, yes. And then he turned out to be the best guy they had because of injuries. So the Eagles could go down that road, too, where they have a couple guys that are veteran players. They draft a young guy, and maybe that young guy surpasses those veteran players right off the bat. And Ibuka wasn't the stud star wide receiver of that draft class.
And I would just say, it's not that this year's wide receiver class is bad. It's just that there's no guy that everyone is 100% sold on. So maybe you get a guy who makes sense for Sean Mannion and Jalen Hurts want to do.
Right. You let him start to make his draft room now. Football at 4 is coming up next here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. So we'll get Jeff Mosher's take on the wide receiver situation. We now know that A.J. Brown seemingly will be gone. Is it signed, sealed, and delivered for Jeff Mosher? Diana Rossini told us on the Sports Bash back at the Super Bowl it was happening. Some people didn't want to believe her, and now Adam Schefter is really doubling down that A.J. Brown seemingly will be gone. All that and more, Jeff Mosher, Football at 4, Sports Bash, live, 97.3 ESPN. Football at 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. It is brought to you by the Fanatics Sportsbook at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. Your go-to game day destination. Big game tonight for the Flyers as they take on the Penguins. You can listen to it on 97.3 ESPN or check out the huge screens, great drinks, and all the sportsbook action you want. It's the perfect place to catch every play and celebrate every win. Big screens, big bets, game day hits different at Ocean Casino. To learn more, visit theoceanac.com. And don't forget to check out the Sports Bash live from the Balcony Bar this Thursday. We will be there for our annual draft show, and I know Geoff Mosher and the guys are ready for the draft. They've been getting you ready over at Inside the Birds, InsideTheBirds.com, and the Inside the Birds podcast, and he joins me right now with a look at everything that's happening the week of the draft. And, Geoff, I know you and I and everybody in this area, including Diana Rossini, have been talking about A.J. Brown going to the Patriots. Well, today, Adam Schefter pretty much put the nail in the coffin, it seems like, for A.J.'s return to Philadelphia. It's almost like if Adam Schefter says it, then it has to be accurate and true. But he came out today with a pretty big, thought that he will be a Patriot post June 1st. Is that the idea that you've had and continue to have?
Yeah. It's funny. I think I thought Nick Foles actually had a really good rationale about it. He does a podcast with a former NFL tight end, Evan Moore. They're really good friends. It's called The Season. And it was a couple of days ago where on the podcast, he basically said, if you had asked me 2 weeks ago, I would have said 80-20 that A.J. Brown's going to be an Eagle. But I've been talking to a lot of people and hearing what I'm hearing. And, he noted that throughout this whole time, A.J. Brown has not once come out and said, I really want to be an Eagle, right? Like, he could put it all the rest. Like, I want the new offense. I'm excited about what I've heard. That's what people who have felt that A.J. Brown's not going to get traded or doesn't want to be traded have assumed that he's going to warm up to the idea of a new offense and him being featured in it. And all A.J. had to do was come out and say, yeah, I really like that. And I'm can't wait to get excited. He never had. So Nick Foles went on to say that, Howie rightly wouldn't want to go through another year of unhappy wide receiver, especially when you're transitioning to a new offense and everything. And so, I think you combine that with Adam's report and what we've thought all along, and it's looking like A.J. Brown's not going to be an Eagle still.
Yeah, he was pretty definitive about it this morning, was basically that, hey, he's not expected to attend the Eagles off-season programs. Has he been at these in the past?
Just look at the timing of Adam's report, Schefter's report, with the today being the day that it starts, right? So I think that there's a reason why the reporting today is stronger than ever from him, because today was the day that off-season workouts were going to begin, and it was obvious that AJ wasn't going to be there.
Yeah, and according to Adam Schefter, basically the teams, they haven't spoken recently, but they will talk leading up to June 1st, and something will likely happen, and he will be a Patriot after June 1st, which is what we've heard a lot of here. One of the things I find to be interesting, though, is, and I think this was Greg Cosell may have said this on Ross Tucker podcast, was that he feels that the Wicks, Brown, and the Eagles wide receiver room, that it is serviceable without A.J. Brown, and that he is really interested to see what they do on draft night, whether they take a receiver or not now, hearing all this information.
Yeah, and we had Greg on several days ago with us on the Inside the Birds platform to break down Dontavian Wicks and what he brings to the Eagles offense. And I think what Greg was saying, he wasn't trying to make it sound like the Eagles are as talented now, without A.J. Brown as they were with him. But for having a new offense, and you bring in a guy in Dontavian Wicks who has size, which the Eagles really don't have at any other spot among their receivers except Johnny Wilson. And, he's coming back from an injury in a 6th-round pick. I mean, he's got to make the team. But really, Dontavian Wicks gives you some size, that the ability to play the X position. You don't want him playing as many snaps as A.J. Brown did, but he has the ability to do it. And then you combine that with Marquise Brown and Devontae Smith, and maybe they've got some something in Darius Cooper, who we all liked last year. That the room is and then don't forget the tight ends and what they might do in the draft at both tight end and receiver, that the room can give you a little bit more diversity than you might have had in the past.
Do you like the room if they say, we're not drafting anybody, this is what it is?
I mean, it's hard to like the room now as opposed to what it was like with Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown.
Right.
I will say,
that's obvious, right?
Right.
We agree there.
So I will say, though, that, for a while I've been telling you I think Eagles' depth at wide receiver has been bad. I mean, they've been fortunate that the two guys have stayed mostly healthy, or that when A.J. Brown gets hurt and they have to play like Jahan Dotson, they could also play a lot of 12 personnel to limit how many receivers they have to put on the field. So, I think they're deeper. I think having Wicks and Marquise Brown with Devontae Smith, and again, I'm really curious about Darius Cooper in year 2. I'm not saying I think he's going to be some kind of superstar, but I think he can be a contributable player. He has to prove that, of course. And then with what they might do at tight end going forward, at least bringing Dallas Goedert back if they want to be in 12 personnel. I think they can get by if this new offense works and if the quarterback takes to it. But I can also envision scenarios where we're in week 9 or 10 saying, man, this Goddard might be hurt a few games. Something happens where we're saying this just isn't the same receiving core that they've had.
By the way, we did play the audio from Nick Foles last week on the show, and I do agree with you. I thought what he said was very measured and very open and honest. Was, hey, I didn't think he wanted to be traded, but people told me he does want to be traded, and he went from 50-50 to kind of 80-20. And, it sounds as if Nick believes this would be an addition by subtraction type of situation, that he just doesn't want to be there. And we kept asking the question, are the Eagles better by trading A.J. Brown when you have Super Bowl aspirations? And his basically explanation is, yeah, if he's not there, it might just make for a better environment. Do you agree with that?
I mean, of course, yeah. I think I'm not saying Nick that's Captain Obvious, but yes, I think.
Well, I guess the thought is, was he so unhappy that he couldn't play here with the people here, or was he unhappy in the offense?
I think yes and yes are probably the answers to that question. I think he's expressed that himself more so. And listen, he's for 3 years he's been talking about being dissatisfied with the passing offense. So it can't be. It's not all Kevin Patullo, because he was mad about it when they won a Super Bowl. He was mad about it when the year before that.
Yeah.
So it's not any one individual person, but I think it's pretty obvious that his relationship with Jalen Hurts isn't the same that it used to be as well. And the careful thing that Nick pointed out also was that it's not like A.J. Brown wants to be traded anywhere. He doesn't want to be traded to the Browns. He doesn't want to be traded to, like a really bad team that has nowhere to go. So that's another reason why there's a selective amount of words that A.J. Brown has said this offseason. He's trying to help the Eagles the way they're trying to help him.
Well, and listen, I asked the question. I'm going to get your take on this. Seattle traded DK Metcalf away and won the Super Bowl. And I said, look, you look at their offense. They had Jackson Smith and Jigba, which, is he better than Devontae Smith? Probably. But Devontae Smith could be your number one. Their other guy, Cooper Kupp and Rashid Shaheed. I mean, it's not like they had this great room, but they were confident in, hey, we have a number one and we have some guys who fill roles. Can Philadelphia look at their wide receiver room as, we have a number one and we have some guys that can fill holes?
Yeah, and then, that's sort of my point, is there's more than one way to skin a cat. I mean, Seattle won the Super Bowl because they made an upgrade at quarterback, even though they lost their very good wide receiver. They were able to fill that good wide receiver's hole, but they mainly improved their defense from one year to another, 3 times fold. And some of that was just having an extra year in the Mike McDonald defense, and then you draft Nick Amon-Wari. So you can make the comp that the Eagles have a very good defense. They could potentially add more to it here. I mean, they already have with Reek Woolen, right? They could in the draft. They can get themselves an edge rusher and not be so reliant on the offense to have to win. But they still have a lot of money in that offense and a lot of talent in that offense. So there's going to be an expectation going into this year, that offense should function even better than Seattle's did because of all of the talent. You know, Seattle had a nice offensive line, not as good as what the Eagles' offensive line should be, right? And I guess Barner is a good tight end, but not at the level of Dallas Goedert. So there really should be an expectation that the Eagles. Oh, and running back, the crazy thing is Seattle struggled to run the ball all year long, even though Kenneth Walker had a great Super Bowl as MVP. The Eagles should not struggle to run the ball again as long as the guys up front are healthy. So there will be expectations that this offense is not just sort of a one or two trick pony like Seattle's was.
Geoff Mosher, football at 4. And, of course, the draft is this week. We'll get into that. Another, report out there, according to Adam Schefter, the Eagles and Vikings have engaged in trade talks about defensive end Jonathan Grenard multiple times this offseason. They're looking for a premium day 2 pick. To me, this now becomes the more interesting storyline. The A.J. Brown stuff I think we're at peace with, but they need to get an edge rusher. And unlike A.J. Brown, you could do that on Thursday night.
You could. I've written in Philly Voice to actually be very much on the lookout for a player trade similar to something that happened, 3 years ago when the Lions drafted Jahmyr Gibbs and then all of a sudden DeAndre Swift became available and the Eagles were smart, pounced on that, made a trade that day to get DeAndre Swift. I think that based on what happens in the first round, it would not surprise me if on Friday or Saturday you saw a trade from the Eagles that did involve getting a player because, Mike, they have more immediate needs now, which we've talked about, than they normally do. I mean, they need an edge that is somewhat comparable to Jalen Phillips, like a real starting edge, right? They need a safety. They need a starting safety right now. They don't have one, and drafting one is no guarantee that guy's going to start because, they're probably not going to take one in the first round. Even if they do, I don't know that he'll be ready to play right away at a level that they're expecting. They need depth. They need a backup guard who can really come in and play because those guys have been instrumental to the Eagles' success over the last few years. So it would not surprise me at all if there was some trades going down involving the Eagles throughout the draft.
Yeah, and you wonder, at 23 where they are in this particular draft. I wanted to get your thoughts on what you thought of the Bengals and Giants trade because I think that's a sign that the Bengals are saying we think Dexter Lawrence is better than anything we can get at pick number 10, which tells me that the depth at 23 is going to be lacking a little bit.
Depth on defense perhaps might be lacking a little bit. So, there's probably going to be 4 or 5 pretty good offensive line prospects when you get to 23. There's probably going to be some decent edge prospects, but trades are funny. Like sometimes you can love and hate a trade at the same time. And, obviously I like it for the Giants because they have other good pass rushers. They have Burns, they have Thibodeau, they have Abdul Carter, and they drafted the kid out of Toledo last year, Darius Alexander, a nice defensive tackle who can play. He can help fill the role for Dexter Lawrence, and you get this top 10 pick, 10th overall pick.
I like it for both teams.
That's the thing about Cincinnati. I'd like it because I think they absolutely needed it. I think it makes them a lot better. I think he's still a really good player. He gets it's going to help them. They added Boye Mafe, but I also think you never want to be in the position where you're giving up the 10th overall pick for a guy entering his 9th year.
Yeah.
In the NFL. I get it. I get it. But I also think that's the kind of move you make when you're bad at what you do. You know what I'm saying?
I hear what you're saying. He is 28 years old, so he's still got probably 2-3 prime years left, right?
Right. And with the number 10 overall pick, you're hoping to get a guy with 7 to 8 prime years, maybe 1 or 2 growth years.
Yeah, but I understand what you were saying, but this is the sports mentality that we have is that we always like what's behind door number 2, even though what's behind door number 2 probably is never going to be as good as what's presented to me.
Well, true. And given the Bengals draft history, this is a team that took John Ross, I think 9th overall. then I think that they've kind of Bengals proof themselves by getting a legit good player at 10 instead of having to worry about whoever would have been a 10 kind of fulfilling their potential.
Well, and if you remember the last time they had a half-decent defensive tackle, which his name's escaping me, they went to the Super Bowl. Their defense has been horrible the last couple of years. I mean, they've been able to compete on offense with like Joe Flacco playing quarterback, but their defense has been so bad that they just haven't. Who was the defensive tackle that they had the year that they went to the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, and then he ended up getting hurt or something? But
what year was they go to the Super Bowl? Is that 2022?
It had to be like 4 years ago. I was going to say like 4 or 5 years ago. They played the Rams.
They had B.J. Hill. I'm trying to think if that was the guy that you're referring to. Hill was a pretty good player.
They had a defensive tackle that was like their guy, and he was good. But their defense has just been horrible. I mean,
DJ Reader was pretty good for them for a couple of years. But yeah, I know what you're saying.
If Josh was in the room, he'd probably have the answer. I'm not in like 100% football mode, so I'm forgetting guys' names, and I'm having like those senior moments as I'm almost 50 now, Geoff.
I hope you're not thinking of like Justin Smith from like, the early 2000s. No. Okay.
No.
But either way, Mike, they have Mafe now. They had a high first-round pick a couple of years ago. Miles Murphy comes into his own a little bit. You add Dexter Lawrence. They drafted the pass rusher, Shamar Stewart. So they probably feel like they're coming along there and now can finally compete in that division defensively.
I'm like you, though. I think, well, I don't know if you agree with me or not. I like the trade for both teams. I think it worked out for the Bengals. They needed a guy. And I think where the Giants are to get 2 picks in the top 10 is definitely, where you need to be.
Yeah, no, I think it's fair. Again, you never want to be doing what the Bengals are doing, but I mean, you have to sometimes. And that's
by the way, Geno Atkins is the player, and I don't think he was on.
He was not on the Super Bowl.
I don't
team,
think he was on that Super Bowl team, but he was a pretty good player for them. They had a guy, but he wasn't on the Super Bowl team. He left right before that.
Right, he was. Geno Sacks was a pretty good player. That's fair.
All right. Well, they got Dexter Lawrence now. He's out of the NFC East. We'll see what the Eagles end up trying to do. Would you give up a premium day 2 pick? They have 54, 68, and 98 for Jonathan Grenard.
Yeah, I probably would. I mean, he's a good. So it depends. I mean, I guess I just would. I know you're probably going to have to redo his contract, give him a lot more money, and maybe that impacts what the draft comp is. And maybe you get something else, and like you give up a day 2, a second round pick, but you get like a 6th. And I don't know how the points work out, but I think he's worth it. Absolutely.
I don't mind Howie working a new. I don't want Dave Dombrowski to give people new contracts. I like Howie giving new contracts because he'll figure out a way to make sure that it's like get out proof.
Yeah, that's fair. Grenard's 28 years old, so you got to think he's got at least 3 good years left in him this year. Because, he's going to be 29 soon, so 29, 30, at least 2 seasons where he's good. But again, you've got Jalix Hunt, you've got Nolan Smith, you'll probably draft at that position. So I think you got Arnold Ebiketie. I think I'd feel a lot more comfortable with them being competitive on the edges with Grenard, even if it meant giving up a 2.
All right, Geoff Mosher, I know we'll be back on Wednesday. We'll get your pick for the pick on Thursday night on Wednesday's show, if everybody can follow along with that. What are some of the things that you guys have going on at Inside the Birds for the draft?
Yeah, well, me, Andrew, and Adam every year do our own first-round NFL mock cast. That'll be out tomorrow, and we pick the entire first round. Adam and I today had a really good – the Inside the Birds that came out today was a very intel-heavy pod about basically going through all the players that we think will be in that 23 range, some that you might have to trade up for, and their strengths and weaknesses, where the strengths are in the draft, and things like that. It's always an intel heavy pod after speaking with a lot of personnel executives, coaches, and all that around the league. So we're excited about that. And on Philly Voice today, I had a story where I spoke to a few veteran NFL college scouts and had them break down the draft for me as well. It's up on phillyvoice.com right now.
All right, everybody, make sure you check out all the coverage. Philly Voice, Jeff's got more stuff over there. Then, of course, Inside the Birds, the podcast you can check out on all podcasting platforms. Jeff's back on Wednesday. We'll get his thoughts on the NFL draft and what the Eagles will do in that draft, and that will be right here for Football at 4. Thanks, man.
You got it. Take care.
There is Geoff Mosher, everybody, from the Inside the Birds podcast. Our Football at 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast, and it is brought to you by Ocean Casino Resort and the awesome Fanatics Sportsbook, which is where we will be on Thursday for the draft party. But don't forget, Ocean Casino has great live entertainment. Comedian Tony Hinchcliffe is this weekend, if you want to go see Tony Hinchcliffe on Friday. Bobby Lee next Saturday. Comedian Matt Rife on Friday, July 24th and Saturday, July 25th. Comedian Joey Diaz on Friday, August 7th. And comedian Sebastian Maniscalco has multiple dates coming in September. Get your tickets at theoceanac.com. Coming up, it's Nick's Nuggets. But first, I want to tell you about my friends over at Clark's Moving and Storage. You know, when you have a big move, it is not fun. I can vouch for that. I've moved so many times in my life, and the best move I ever did was when I decided to call Clark's Moving and Storage. I didn't want to move again and say to my buddy, hey, you want to help me move? And his answer was like, really? So I said, you know what? I'm going to get Clark's. And they took care of it all. I told them exactly what I wanted, where I wanted it, where I wanted them to put it. Didn't have to do anything. Not a scratch. It was the best decision I ever made. Clark's Moving and Storage. Do what I did. Use them for your next big move. Call 609-889-0780. Don't ask your friend. He doesn't want to help you move. I can guarantee you that. Do you want to help anybody move? No. Visit them at clarksmoving.net. They are an authorized agent for Wheaton Worldwide Moving, so they can move you across the country or even around the world. That's right. So if your son or daughter goes to college someplace out of the area, they can help move their apartment from wherever they are back home or from here back there. Clark's Moving and Storage. All right, when we come back, it's Nuggets. Big weekend. Flyers, Sixers, Phillies swept. We'll see what the Nuggets offers for today's Knicks Nuggets. It's next. All right, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. And don't forget, you can watch the show live on the 97.3 ESPN YouTube channel. Just search 97.3 ESPN, our Football at 4 with Mosher. We talked a lot of birds. Now we're going to spin it around and see what the Nuggets have today. Flyers with a big win. They win 3-2. Game 2 tonight on 97.3 ESPN. The pregame starts at 7. The puck drops at 7:10. Now, the other night, 8:25 on the puck drop on Saturday night, man. Oh, that was brutal. But I'll tell you what, good action in the game. Flyers win. Porter Martone with the game winner. And then you got stuck with the Phillies and the Sixers the rest of the weekend. So what do you got for us, Nuggets?
You know, Mike, who would have thought that, like, even just a couple of weeks ago, that the only positive in this city right now would be the Philadelphia Flyers? I mean, who would have thought that? I mean, if you told me that a couple of weeks ago, a couple of months ago, last year at this time, I'd call you nuts. I think you were crazy, to say the least. They are the only positive in Philadelphia right now, and it was a fun time on Saturday night. And yeah, that late start, the games finish it up, etc. 8:25, a little rough, but it's all right. It was well worth the wait, to say the least. And we'll start with the Flyers, because nugget number one is the Flyers are the only positive. And you look at what happened on Saturday night; they were in control of that game for a majority of the entirety of play. And I found this stat from Opta Stats. Porter Martone is the only NHL teenager this century with a game-winning goal in his playoff debut. The last teenager with a game-winning goal in his playoff debut was Winnipeg's Chad Kilger, April 21st, 1996. So, I mean, Porter Martone, I mean, just having the influx of youth, and this guy, after you just drafted him last year, come in with Michigan State losing. I mean, it's been unbelievable. The turnaround, the talent that has just been infused into this lineup late in the season. I mean, they're on a heater right now, to say the least.
Well, and it's funny because we talked with Durso on Friday's show about the fact that, hey, they had been playing so well at almost every other night. Then they had this long layoff, and with that show, and, I thought they were the better team in the first period and pretty much all night long. And then the last, 5 seconds of the game where it got a little dicey there, big save by Vladar. And it's one of those things where I thought they were the better team. I thought they outplayed the Penguins. And they got the big save in the big moment, which is something that they generally have not been able to do over the years, right? They haven't been able to get that big, few past teams, they would have scored there, sent it to overtime, and you felt like you had the game the whole night. They score with 3 seconds left and then win it in overtime, but that did not happen. And I think that really jumpstarts things because they get the win on the road. They could probably try to steal another game tonight and really set themselves up for coming home where they only need to win one of those home games.
Yeah, and listen, who would have thought that I would be starting Nuggets how many days in a row now with a Flyers Nugget? I mean, it's just unbelievable, to say the least. And you know what was also fascinating is they were hitting guys. They were playing, Coots was laying out hits, Tippett laying guys out in the middle of the ice. They were playing hard and physical. The physicality is what really shocked me. I was like, whoa, where did these guys come from? They are setting the tone in this game, and they're such a young team. And that's why I think it's so imperative to know, they're playing kind of with just house money. They're young players. They're really kind of naive, and playing naive into the postseason as a young team, I think that's the best thing they got going for them right now.
Yeah, and listen, I thought they played better on the road for the most part. They had some games at home. They lost the Detroit game at home. They had some better performances on the road. So them going on the road, I think, was the best. They brought it up during the broadcast, too, that they thought going on the road was probably for the better, that the Penguins looked a little tight at times. The Penguins had 4 shots in the first period. Who had ever thought? They brought this stat up during the broadcast, too. The Flyers have got up 2 goals or less, how many, whatever it was. It was I was like, since when has the Flyers' defense and goaltending been a strength of them?
Well, it's funny. Vladar's been very good. We know he's been the MVP of this team. When you have a hot goaltender heading into the postseason, I mean, that signs are looking really good, especially in the National Hockey League. Yeah. But the fact they've gotten good performances out of Ersson, too, since that Olympic break. playing 2 goaltenders. That's been huge as well. Like the fact that Harrison stepped in and has come up with some big games, that's been huge. It just hasn't been just Vladar. Harrison has also been pretty good as well.
I'll give you that. They needed Harrison to win some games. They couldn't have faulty goaltending any night that Vladar did not play. And you can make a strong argument that down the stretch that Harrison played better than Vladar did in some of those games. So, yeah, it's been a formula. Now, Vladar's going to probably play all the way through, although if you remember back in 2010 when they made that run, Boucher would play, and he got hot. Then they would go to Leighton, and Leighton would play, and then he got hot, and then he would not. They go back. It was like crazy. They were changing goaltenders all throughout that run.
I was 10 years young during that run, and I found the other day, I was going through some of my clothes, found the Michael Leighton Stanley Cup jersey. It's like a kid's medium. Like, that's how long ago it was that I got a goaltender jersey of Michael Leighton. How about that, Mr. Mike Gill?
That is a collector's item there.
It's got the Stanley Cup patch on it, the whole thing. Doesn't fit anymore. It's unfortunate because I would wear that like there's no tomorrow. But it is what it is. All right, moving along. I see you got the Phillies lineup up if you're watching on YouTube or the X platform. We'll start with a Phillies nugget in just a sec, but I know the Phillies lineup is out, Mr. Mike Gill.
Yeah, it's nothing different. I mean, insanity here. Turner, Schwarber, Harper, Garcia, Marsh, Bohm, Stott, Crawford, Marchand. That is your Phillies lineup tonight. So nothing different. They're going to stick with Bohm and Stott and just let them keep kind of banging their heads against the wall until they get out of this mess. I thought maybe after last night, the way that Topper was talking about, like, we're trying and blah, we know, that I thought maybe they would come out tonight and show something different. Like, hey, they really mean it, that they understand, like Schwarber's leading off, and nope, they didn't do it. They went with the same old lineup.
Well, we're not the only ones in this area talking about this. It's gone a little national too. Ken Rosenthal has also talked about this offense, had a lot to say on his podcast. Take a listen to what Ken Rosenthal had to say about the Phillies offense.
The biggest problem right now is the offense. You've got Turner, you've got Schwarber, you've got Harper at the top. Great. They might not be exactly what they've been in the past, but they're all 33 or so. They're going to be pretty good. The question is the rest of the lineup, and the rest of the lineup is not deep, not good. This team, as of right now, is 26th in the majors in runs per game, was 8th last year.
Mike, this is a team that's 5-10 at home. 5-10 already this year. I mean, that is no good. The offense is struggling. We know they're all a year older, but they didn't improve this roster. And it goes back to Dabrowski. If this continues to spiral, and you're going to hear the Topper firing calls just get louder and louder and louder, you got to make a change somehow, some way, I guess. But I'm not going to put this all on Rob Thompson. Like, maybe you need a different voice in there, sure. But this lineup's just not good enough. It's just not. And when they lost out on Bo Bichette in the offseason.
Bo Bichette, by the way, has gotten off to a terrible start.
He has. But I'm just saying, they didn't add anything. I mean, they added Justin Crawford. They added Andrew Painter. That's really the only additions you got.
Well, let me listen. I'm on your side. I'm on your side here, but I'll play some devil's advocate to this one. I won 95 games. I won 96 games. At what point am I looking at myself and saying, I stink, I need a change?
I think it's because of the lineup, right? We've seen the lineup go cold over and over, and the fact that they're getting older
with that lineup, I won 96 games, and with that lineup, I won 95 games. So if you're running that team and you're saying, why do I need change? I've almost won 100 games 2 years in a row. Why do I need to change something?
Things evolve, right? And they haven't gone anywhere in the postseason in those 2 years. That's the issue here. And we've seen their home run or bust. We've seen this lineup be stale over and over again, especially towards the end of that 20.
I'm on your side. I get it here, but my point is I can understand if you're inside the walls and you're saying, we won 96 games and we won 95 games. Our offense, you keep making points that don't have anything to do with them winning games. Their offense has been streaky over and over and over again, yet they keep winning over 90 games. So, again, I would ask, if I won 96 games, no matter how I did it, streakiness, home runs, whatever you're saying, that all happened and I still won 96 games. If I'm them, am I saying, I won 96 games with this group of guys. What am I supposed to change for?
Because you can't get complacent in professional sports. That's what they have done. They've gotten complacent. You have guys getting older and older and older. And we saw this in 08. It's like Groundhog Day all over again.
All right. I would say, though,
it feels like 2012.
I would say they did make some additions to the bullpen, which failed them last year in that series against the Dodgers. I'm not saying that it didn't, but I'm saying they didn't just say, hey, this team is the same. Where did we struggle? We struggled in the bullpen. Let's go get a setup guy. So they went out and got Brad Keller. They went out and traded for some more depth to that bullpen. They got Alvarado back. So they added Andrew Painter to the pitching rotation. So they thought their pitching would be better and that their offense would be what it was. Very streaky, but good enough to win 96 games.
They also lost Ranger Suarez in that mix. They lost him. They have been complacent in not changing it up with Alec Boehm. They've tried to trade him multiple times. They've tried to make adjustments. Couldn't get rid of him. Bryson Stott has not developed into the player you thought he'd be. So there are parts of this team where being complacent, it's now showing later as a couple of years have gone by. That's just where they're at now.
Well, I would add this to the mix, and I agree with you saying the complacency. It's really not Harper and Schwarber. I mean, Turner hasn't gotten off to a great start, and I'm not the biggest Turner guy in the world, believe me.
Me neither.
You're talking about guys getting older and that being the problem. That's not what's happening here.
That's part of the problem.
I mean, Schwarber's got 7 home runs.
But he strikes out a lot. And you gave him 5 years at 33 years old.
It's the same Schwarber I watched in the past. He strikes out a lot and hits a lot of home runs. That hasn't changed. Harper's been okay. Harper's not been awful. No, he hasn't been.
He's getting paid to be a superstar.
But my point is the guys that you have paid have produced a little bit here. The problem is Garcia, 4 for his last 39 with 15 strikeouts. Boehm hitting 139. Stott, I don't know if he's hitting over 200 right now. So all of the guys that you have been waiting to develop, and they're not giving you anything. So really the guys that you paid, you're talking about age being a problem. It hasn't been the older guys that have been the problem. It's the younger guys. It's the Boehms. It's the Stott. Realistically, Marsh, he's been good. He hasn't been great. Crawford's been good. He hasn't been great. Who else is in there? I mean, Garcia's been terrible. He's been awful.
I'd say we were talking about that before when he got signed. I was not a fan of the Garcia signing anyway. Everyone thought they were getting the old Garcia. Why on earth over 2 seasons has he consistently gotten worse since his playoff performances a couple years back in the World Series, and people thought he'd magically turn into that guy again? I just don't understand where that came from. Remember,
I think a lot of people just assumed that, hey, maybe he would add more power to your lineup than – I mean, Castellanos just did not hit for power. And that, okay, maybe if this guy struggles with the batting average, he could still hit 25 to 30 homers, something that Castellanos could not do, and it doesn't look like he has that in him anymore.
Castellanos 2.0 with a better glove in the outfield. That's what Garcia was.
We all kind of looked at this and said he's no better than Nick Castellanos. Maybe the upside is he can have more power, but that's it. I don't think anybody was.
Do you remember the bill of goods they sold us on Otto Kemp this offseason? Oh, because he was hurt last year. He's going to be a difference maker this year. The bill of goods on Otto Kemp was another this is
why we talk about all the time taking minor league numbers with a grain of salt. People saw Kemp's minor league numbers and are like, how are you not playing this guy? He's ripping it up down there. And we're like, yo, relax. Now, this kid, Felix Reyes, he comes up, he hits a home run his first game, and now everybody's like, why isn't he playing? He was not here to take anybody's spot. He was here to basically replace Kemp, so that basically the way that this happened, as I was told, was they wanted Kemp to go down and get more regular at-bats because he wasn't getting the playing time here. So they brought Reyes up just to kind of basically give Kemp the opportunity to go back and get more at-bats. Now, Reyes, he's going to be in the same problem. He's not going to play every day. Nope. He's here to be the left fielder against left-handed pitching. So now, I would contend the guy comes up, he hits a home run the other night. He's the only run you score. Maybe the next day you should have played him in right field and had Garcia sit down for a day because Garcia's been struggling so much, and just say, hey, buddy, you hit a home run last night. You gave us a little energy. You're going to play right field tonight. I would have given him a shot to do that because, quite frankly, he's played more right field than he has left field.
So that goes back to the manager, right? Like, is he like, do you want, like, is he going to make any of these adjustments? Is he going to make an adjustment somewhere, some way, shake things up a little bit with the lineup?
As we know, the lineup is generally discussed between the front office and the manager. So I don't know if the front office said, listen, this guy's a platoon player. We don't want to see him playing every single day, those type of things. That being said, I got to imagine that Rob Thompson is definitively the first guy that's in trouble here. And I don't have a problem with that. I was surprised they brought him back to begin with. I thought he should have been gone after last year, not because it's his fault. They just need something different. Something has to be changed. You can't bring back the same lineup and then say, we're going to try this again. You might say, hey, we like our lineup. We won 96 games, but we just need a little different voice. That's where I think that Thompson is in trouble here, because if you're struggling and you can't make trades and you can't change guys and you don't have that big prospect that's waiting in the wings, the only change you can make is the manager. So the manager is definitively first on the list to go.
Yeah, listen, the coach always gets the blame, right? And look, if John Middleton, he listens to the fans, right, for the most part. So usually, if they start losing out to the Flyers, because the Flyers have all the momentum right now, and people are just getting tired of the Phillies and just like, are we out? It goes back to your poll question from today. I could see him making a change. Like, hey, we got that Mope Girardi out of here a couple of years ago, and it took us to a World Series. If I do the same thing here, we got Don Mattingly waiting in the wings. Don's been a manager before. He's won a lot of games.
By the way, Mattingly is not a fiery guy. So for the people who don't like Thompson, Mattingly is very chill and very laid back as well. You're not going to get a guy. I think a lot of people just want a more fiery guy. I don't know that they really care or understand what the manager does. They just want somebody that has a little bit more fire in their belly than Rob Thompson, to each their own on that. But to me, Thompson's problem is becoming, as I hear him, the messaging is the same. We got a good club. We like our club. We have talent here. We're working hard. When you keep saying the same things over and over again, at some point it falls on deaf ears. It's fallen deaf ears on us. You don't think it's fallen on deaf ears on, and I contend, Nick, these are professionals. They know what's going on, and they're looking around and saying, Harper insinuated it. I thought we were going to go out and get a right-handed bat. And he's like, well, we got Garcia, but, you know what I mean. That was a little shot at the organization of, you got me Adolis Garcia. Alec Boehm, same old. And I think they look around and saying, look, we lost to the Dodgers last year. They went out and got Kyle Tucker and Edwin Diaz. Even though Diaz has struggled a little bit, you're saying, look what they did and look what we did. How do we compete with that? And it sits in your psyche and gets you off to a slow start, and here you are.
Yeah, and Thompson even said there was something going on in the locker room the other day, right? He said that in his post-game presser. Like, vibes are off. The chief vibes officer can't save the day here, all right? Because something's been off, and I've been saying this since the beginning. Like, they didn't change anything. Complacency and doing the same thing over again and over again and over again, especially professional sports, it's going to hurt you in the long run after a while. Like, yeah, it's been a nice run, 22, 23, 24, 25. And now you're the fifth year of this kind of core in this run. Things are getting a little stale, and they haven't changed anything for the most part as to what they've been doing. And now it's starting to catch up.
You know what, though? Like, I push back a little bit on the whole thing. And listen, I think Dombrowski should have recognized. I'm not saying I agree with Dombrowski. I'm just saying from their perspective, they won 96 games. You can't discount the success that you've had and said, like, it's not like it was a flash in the pan that they had one good year. They won 96 games. They won 95 games. They won 90 games. They went to the World Series. So they're not wrong to say we have the talent here to be, to do it. It's unfortunate that the week when we need to be our best, we haven't been our best. And that is fair to say. So do you blow it all up because you're not good for 1 week? And you take the 96-game sample size and say, that doesn't matter. And I watched the Celtics the other day. And I'm looking at them and I'm saying, this crew has been the same group for the most part. You got Tatum and Brown and Derek White, and they just keep rolling those 3 and 4. I mean, they got a bunch of guys who are just – and it's like they don't say we keep running it back. They keep running it back because those guys are really effing good.
Yeah, listen, I hear you, different sport. And also, we just came off the Castellanos here, the locker room, a lot of egos. Everyone's frustrated because there's been a lot of losing. Boston, they keep winning. They went up there. They got a championship.
That is true. That is true. But I'm just saying, when you look at – I feel like this whole – and like regular season success is so minimized here. Like we just don't care about it. And it's unfortunate.
My thing is, I just want to see them shake something up, right? Something a little bit different.
I'll give you this. The Mets shook it all up. It didn't work for them. They got rid of Alonso. They got rid of Nimmo and all that. And they said, we just need something different because we haven't been getting it done. Now they're horrible.
I hear you. But I'm not saying they're getting rid of Harper and Schwarber, all these guys. But something else has to give here. That's
all right. There's the Nuggets.
Right. Flyers tonight, Sixers tomorrow. Embiid, I see that report. Kai Carlin, hey, he started ramping up a little bit here. The exact tweet was Joel Embiid has started his strength and conditioning program.
Okay.
Putting it out there.
I'll believe it when I see it.
See ya.
All right, there's Nuggets today on the Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. When we come back, we're going to get into the Phillies, a Mike and Bob Phillies chat. We usually save these for Fridays to get you ready for the weekend. But we're going to look back at the weekend. It's a Mike and Bob Phillies baseball chat. Bob Wankel from the Fighting Words podcast. He joins me coming up next on the Sports Bash, 97.3 ESPN. And watch the show on the 97.3 ESPN YouTube channel.
kind of puts some constraints on a GM when he's working under a budget. And John Middleton, for as much as he spends, then you don't want to be critical of a guy that's a top 5 spender in the sport. They've obviously made a decision that they don't want to overspend to compensate for some of their deficiencies, and this is what you get right now.
All right, Bob, obviously the bullpen, that was another strength. Durant and the rest of the bullpen probably hasn't been as good as we thought. Is that a concern moving forward this season?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think in any other year, if you were getting better starting pitching and the offense was marginally better, we'd be talking more about the bullpen. Now, the great thing about not having Duran right now is that they can't get a lead and keep it late in a game, so you don't need a closer. So the way that they're playing baseball, this might not even be a factor by the time he comes off the injured list. That being said, like Brad Keller, career year last year, he's great. He stunk this year. I mean, the next time that he gets a big out in a key spot will be the first. I memean, he's just not done the job for them. And you'd like to think that obviously that's going to iron itself out. Jose Alvarado has been wildly disappointing. I personally don't know if that's a mental thing. I don't know if it's bad luck, small sample size. He looks kind of out of shape to me personally. And he killed them last year with what he did. And he's kind of hurt them this year from the left side. He's not giving them what they expected thus far when they picked up a $9 million a year option. We'll see how that irons itself out. You know, you're counting on guys like Tim Mesa to get big outs in big spots, and that started well enough, but the last couple times out here, it's been rough. So, or 2 out of the last 3 times, it's been rough. So, yeah, I mean, look, this bullpen is certainly not what we expected it to be, but that just kind of fits the rest of the picture of what this has been so far through 3 weeks.
All right, so the team obviously not playing up to capabilities, or maybe this is what they are capable of. And then, of course, is the manager, everybody's favorite guy to whip on. There was an article written today in The Athletic that suggested he could be on the hot seat if this doesn't turn around. He's an easy target. Is he at fault here, and is he the guy that will be the fall guy ultimately sooner than later?
Well, you have to wonder. I mean, look, I've always kind of been a guy that says look at the players, not the manager, especially when you're talking about players that make as much money and are as highly paid as this particular Phillies team is. But at some point, you do have to wonder, is the message not landing the same? And, like, let's just say, for instance, that they love Rob Thompson behind closed doors and they want to play for him, they want to win for him, and it's just not working out. Like, well, what do you do about that? Well, sometimes, you know, you get rid of a guy because there's a tension between the player and the manager. And sometimes if, team's not getting it done, you take away the thing that they like. If they like Kevin Long, well, maybe that rattles their cages a little bit. If they like Rob Thompson and respect him and you fire him, maybe that rattles their cages a little bit. And so, look, they have so many problems right now, and I really, at the end of the day, don't feel that it is Rob Thompson's fault per se. It's almost like, what do you do though? When the boat has 8 different leaks in it and you don't really have a fix for the other 7, sometimes you just you do that performative thing. You do the easiest thing that you can do because you can't flip over the entire roster, and they don't really have a lot of places to pivot in terms of the rotation depth, bringing up a position player. There's just not a lot to do in terms of moves. So then you find yourself saying, well, we got to do something. And, one thing I'll say about moving on from Rob Thompson is that he's not going to be this team's manager in 2028, 2029. He's not a young, up-and-coming, emerging coaching star. So, if you feel like you got to do it just to do it, then maybe they do it. And I wouldn't do it today. But if you go out on the road here in these next 7 games and you go 2-5 and you find yourself 8 games under 500 with World Series expectations, it's getting late early. You might be 7-8 games out of the division, 5-6 games out of a wild card spot by the end of April. You might have to look at it.
Well, it would probably be a popular decision. I can't imagine that Rob is at this point the most popular guy. The fans and people who listen, they text in all the time. They wanted him gone before the season. Quite frankly, I actually thought and was surprised that it wasn't, hey, you know what? We're just going to need a new voice because the roster's the same, so we need a new message, and that they just kind of, quote-unquote, parted ways. He retired, stepped aside. Yeah. He didn't want to do this. For them give him an extension, I was pretty surprised.
Yeah, a little bit. I actually thought that he did a decent job last year. I would have been more comfortable moving on in a different direction after 24, after the Mets series. That was a team that I thought was complacent. I know it's been a common criticism about this Phillies group that there's a lack of urgency or a lack of fire or whatever. Yep. I mean, that's what it looks like when guys don't hit. I thought
It's
that
hard to get excited when no one's on base.
Yeah, I mean, I tweeted it out earlier. The Phillies have the fewest plate appearances with runners in scoring position this season. They're not particularly effective when there are runners in scoring position. They weren't this weekend. They were 0 for 12, but they don't have a lot of at-bats. I mean, like they have, like I said, 183 plate appearances with runners in scoring position. The next fewest in the National League is the Giants at 200. And the Giants stink and have no offense. So, I mean, that goes to show you how unoften, infrequent the Phillies threaten. But look, like, I kind of feel like it's not necessarily Rob Thompson's fault, but I also don't think that you can fault the Phillies or say it's some great injustice if they were to move on from him.
I'd be in that category too. I'm not Rob Thompson on my list of problems on this team is towards the bottom, but I also don't see fixes anywhere else.
Yeah.
Like I can't say, well, why are you hitting Garcia 4? Like I can say, why were you hitting Stott 5th? They quickly pivoted out, not quick enough, but they quickly pivoted out of that. Looking at the rest of this team, though, I can't stack this lineup much differently and expect something different to happen.
Yeah, there's not like a guy that they have that's performing at some great level where, like, come on, it's time to give him the promotion, time to stick him in that role. I mean, you could go Crawford at the top of the order, but theoretically, he's done a nice job and he's gotten on base a little bit, and you want to stack those runners ahead of Schwarber and Harper. And I mean, like, so I don't think that really, but the issue is in the middle of the order, not at the bottom. And I mean, there is an issue at the top, and that's a different topic for a different day, but we're really talking about what's happening after the three. They don't have a lot of moves. And that's the shame about the Aiden Miller part of this, because I think you're at a point where if he were ready and were healthy and had gone through a normal spring cadence, you would say, let's just bring up the kid and do it, and we'll shake things up that way, maybe move on from Alec Boehm. I think Alec Boehm's a DFA candidate at this point. But this team and where they're at and the lack of depth and options, like they'll hang on to them, and they have to.
Right. They don't have a lot of options. They don't have – and that's another thing. Like I said, the kid Nori, to me, he can hit, and he can hit. The problem is he bats left-handed and plays the outfield. So even if you said he was our best guy, bar none – a left-handed bat just does not fit in this lineup. So and he plays the outfield.
Yeah, and look, I mean, obviously he had the World Baseball Classic, and that was great, and I think there's some optimism around his game, but is he going to step in and give you more than, again, there's like a familiarity breeds contempt quality to this conversation. Like people roll their eyes when they hear Brandon Marsh's name, but like that's what you'd have to ask yourself. Can he give you more than Brandon Marsh offensively in this moment? And the answer is probably not. So
Brandon Marsh isn't losing his job to be replaced by Nori is the point.
Yeah.
It's like, so there's no place to play Nori, even if he was definitively ready and your best option.
And that guy's not giving you what it is you need. And as much as people are probably already tired of Garcia in right field, and I get it, but I mean, you did spend $10 million on him, and you're not going to move off of him after 21 games. You're just not going to do it.
This will be the Kepler story the whole season. You're going to say, oh, by the trade deadline, if they can't find it, he'll be gone. And then, what are you going to do with him? He's right-handed. He hits in the middle of the lineup. He's a good right fielder. And then to add to it is you sign JT, which I was totally against, for 3 years at $15 million, and he's got a stiff back on a play that you're looking at and like, okay, where's the injury here? But that's what happens to older guys, and he's having the injury problems already. Fouls one off his foot, and then he's sore, and so I said when I saw him, and by the way, Real Muto's been one of the more productive guys, amazingly enough, on this team. So I'll give him credit for that. But I'm watching him, and I'm saying, what is this guy going to look like a year and a half from now, 2 years from now?
Yeah, I think that contract's probably really going to hurt in 2028 if I had to guess. But then you look around and look, they could have gone out and they could have, everyone always talks about Victor Caratini. Like that's the name that always came up, this past offseason. But you look at what Rafael Marchand's doing, and like what I do know is that he's not an everyday catcher.
No.
I mean, people have turned against Garrett Stubbs for whatever reason, but he's down there in AAA right now hitting over 300 with a few home runs. I mean, Rafael Marchand looks like, if you – I'm not going to say it, but like he just looks totally lost. I mean, he is an automatic out right now. And I know people say you got to give him more at bats. I'd rather they not, quite honestly.
Well, I think he has one hit and it was a home run, right? He had one hit, it was a home run. I mean, listen, everybody says you got to do something. I got a guy tweets at me all the time. You got to trade guy. I said, You can't trade Harper. No one wants Stott. You can't trade Turner. No one wants Bohm. You probably could trade Marsh, nothing in return. You're not trading Crawford. Nobody wants Garcia. Nobody would take Real Muto. I don't know where you think you're going
to trade. Yeah,
right. Exactly.
Look, sometimes when you get into these situations, it's just over, and there's no clear path forward. You're just sort of stuck, and it's too early right now for them to move off of certain players. And some of them aren't, frankly, very palatable to other teams, like you said. So you just hope right now that there's a little bit of a bounce back here. They can stabilize this thing. A couple guys heat up and fight their way back into it. And that is not outside the realm of possibility. But in this moment, if you're trying to decide where does this team fall, I mean, they've had things that you were 50-50 on have gone wrong, and then things you felt pretty good about have gone wrong.
Yeah.
And you start to wonder, is this just what it's going to be? Is this a 75-win team? And we just the cliff came sooner than we thought it was going to. I mean,
well,
it's
Bob,
possible.
That's the thing. Last year, some years are just not your year. The Braves had that year last year. They had injury after injury, and they just could never. The season just was a disaster. This feels like we're at the beginning stages of a season that's just not your year. Injuries keep happening. Things keep happening. Guys aren't having their year. We could be talking a month from now and saying, whoa.
Let me give you one quick thing here before we finish this. Think about this. We've all come into this World Series or bust mentality. Talk to me in October. If they don't win the World Series, I don't even care. Does getting off to this start and the prospect of having just a useless summer of baseball, just a miserable summer of baseball, if they were to bounce back into this and kind of claw back in, would that reframe people a little bit, do you think? Like, do you think that we all of a sudden go like, okay, I still hate this team. I'm still tired of them, but I actually appreciate the fact that when it's 6:40, I turn the TV on and I look forward to it as opposed to saying, this is a nightmare.
Well, what they might need is an 87-win wild card team that recaptures, that might be their best avenue instead of being a 96-win team that nobody believes in.
Yeah, nobody believes in us seems to be the only way this team can effectively navigate October. So maybe they're lining it up the proper way here.
All right, April 20th, Bob, a month from now, we talking about a competitive team or a lost season?
I'm going to say competitive.
No, May 20th. On May, it's April 20th today. May 20th.
I'm going to say competitive with lots of flaws and a realization the World Series probably isn't happening, but not like free falling, no shot.
All right. Phillies tonight. They take on the Cubs. It is Aaron Nola, the Nola Coaster. Bob Wankel. Check out the Fighting Words podcast. And, of course, a Mike and Bob Monday baseball chat on the Phils as they finish the series. The homestand, 2-7. I saw tickets for $15 last night.
I was down there last night. It was pretty sad.
Ooh, all right. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
All right, Bob Wankel, everybody. Our Mike and Bob Phillies chat, of course, on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. Oh, boy, we got that. Phillies, but the Flyers are basically taking over the Phillies right now. People have turned their attention to the orange and black, and we will too. Our Flyers insider, Kevin Durso, joins us coming up next. Tim Saunders called it on 97.3 ESPN. You got the late goal, and it made you feel good, but you needed the late goal from Porter Martone. The Flyers win 3-2, and they have a 1-0 series lead going into tonight's game against the Penguins. Kevin Durso from 97.3 ESPN.com. A late Saturday night, 8:25 puck drop for the Flyers. They score first, and they hold on to win. Maybe the play of the game is the save by Vladar with 3 seconds left. But we'll talk about the win and what it means for tonight here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. Don't forget Flyers and Penguins Game 2. You can listen to it right here on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. Durso, they score that first goal of the game. How big was it, do you think, that the Flyers were the first team to score?
I think it eases some of the nerves that go into a game like that, because now you're in the throes of the playoffs, right? So you know, and when you get to that stage of the game, middle of the second period, the mistakes could get magnified. So if you give up the first one and you've played pretty well, for me, I had put it out there. I posted right before the game started. For me, I wanted to see how they handled the first 10 minutes and first period in general. And they did pretty well in that area. They didn't give anything up. They were very solid defensively. There just wasn't any offense to show for it. And it was that kind of period. And they did have some chances, and you would have liked to have seen one of those go in, but at least you're comfortable with where the game seems to be going. But you needed to come through at some point. So finally getting one and getting the lead was big for them. It comes way later than everybody would hope for, but it was still an important marker for them to get out in front and be the team on the board first.
They made a comment during the broadcast about how the Flyers, how many games they've given up 2 goals or less, which was kind of surprising when you think about the Flyers and their defense, which has been an issue, and their goaltending over the years. And how did they work their pairings for Crosby? I know Malkin ended up scoring the goal, but what did you see from the defense that, I mean, I looked up at the scoreboard at one point. Pittsburgh had 4 shots. I mean, they just couldn't get shots in the game. What is going on with the Flyers defense that has become a strength?
Well, they made adjustments over the Olympic break, and there was, interestingly enough, now this came after, I believe it was the day after they clinched that this news kind of came to the forefront. But at the time, when the teams were at the Olympic break and everything was on pause for a little bit, Rick Tocchet was coaching for Team Canada. He was an assistant coach on John Cooper's staff. And so was Pete DeBoer, who eventually became the coach of the Islanders, but was currently not attached to an NHL team. And the coaches would get together pretty regularly and talk about Team Canada, but also kind of talk about their own ventures a little bit. And Tocchet said he liked some of the ideas that DeBoer had and took some of those for himself later on and used those and made some adjustments. And ironically enough, they had to go up against a team that eventually employed DeBoer down the stretch. It was one of the last games that Patrick Waugh was the head coach before that coaching change was made. But you saw that implemented through the course of those final 15 games. It really kind of came to the forefront that they were playing such a solid defensive game. And it really didn't have to do as much with changing up pairings or any roles or anything like that. It just became a solid all-around team defense. I think there was more emphasis on the way the forwards defended to take some of it off the defensemen. It became an all-around effort, and that's really what's made the difference. You see that from the very beginning, and I think that there was a statement to be made from the first shift of game 1. You started with the 4th line, which is now Sean Couturier, Luke Glendening, and Garnet Hathaway, and it's been probably the most consistent version of it down the stretch, but it's been one of the most effective for them. And that's the point, is that those 3 guys have been able to be effective with the physicality, with the defensive style, and it's rubbed off on everybody else. And to take 3 guys who are the most veteran on your team and have it rub off on all these young players really makes an impact.
Flyers game 2 tonight against the Penguins. I want to get your thoughts. We all know the special teams has been a problem. Is it sustainable to be the worst power play in the playoffs?
You don't want to be. There's plenty of teams out there that can testify to that based on how their game 1 went. Think about it. Montreal and Tampa played yesterday, and both teams had multiple power play goals in the game and utilized that to their advantage. And certainly Montreal did to get the win, 3 power play goals. You want to have a successful power play when the opportunities present themselves. it wasn't really a huge emphasis in game one to me because both teams only had 3 to begin with.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like it came to the forefront. You needed to be successful in those penalty kills, especially early. Like it couldn't have been more than 2-3 minutes into the game and you're killing a penalty. And that's not the way you wanted to start game one. To get through that and then stabilize everything from there was big for me. I thought that made a difference in how they were able to approach the game. And then you saw it be more disciplined the rest of the way. And you saw what happens when you start to take advantage of the opportunities you have at 5-on-5, get an edge, still, get an edge on the scoreboard, still play physical. It started to get on under the skin of the top players on Pittsburgh's roster. You saw Crosby going at it with Travis Sanheim and Sean Couturier. You saw moments with Evgeny Malkin doing that. That will happen if you continue to implement your defensive style. You stifle them from that side of things, and then you bring a physical level that maybe they can't meet or that they weren't prepared for. I'm sure they're going to be more prepared tonight now that they've seen it, but it was certainly a good first impression from the Flyers.
Well, and oddly enough, the Flyers were 0 for 3 or 4 on the power play. They didn't score in that, but ultimately, you would agree though, you cannot continue to throw up donuts every time you have a man advantage. They're going to have to go deep into these playoffs. That is an area where they're going to have to figure out.
Yeah, absolutely. And the two things for me with that situation are you either have to do what happened in game one, which is if you're going to go 0 for 3, and the problem with going 0 for 3 isn't necessarily the 0 for, it's the way that it looks. You can't be as disconnected as it looked on a couple of those power plays. I think they had one that started to generate some connections, and that comes a little, too little too late, but the other two were terrible. And the only thing that counters an 0 for 3 night on the power play in the postseason like that is being completely successful on the penalty kill and having an 0 for on the other side. That's going to be the only way. And you can't bank on that in this series or any series down the road, because these other teams that have better power plays, that have been more successful throughout the season, will eventually figure it out. I wouldn't be surprised if Pittsburgh got, the same, let's say that Pittsburgh gets the same number of power plays in game 2 tonight. They will probably take advantage of at least one of them, because it's just the way that it goes. You can't hold teams down like that too often when opportunities are limited. They will know what to do with the opportunities in short supply when it comes to the playoffs.
All right. Give me something that you think Pittsburgh will do differently tonight. If they watch the first game, said we only had 17 shots. We got to figure out something here to spark the offense. What happens tonight?
Well, they're going to have to try to take as much of the middle ice as they can. It's an area that Tocchet focuses on in his defensive structure, and they were able to execute it in game one. And I think that was partially due to the physicality they brought. When you're getting beat around like Pittsburgh was for parts of that game, you're not going to get to the spots you want to. So I think they're going to be more prepared from the physical standpoint. I also think that they're just going to try to be smarter about it. You can make bad decisions when you're trying to force a play. Maybe there's a shot to be taken. Maybe there's an opportunity to get traffic to the net and take the goalie's eyes away, and they didn't do enough of that. So I think they're going to try to put more pressure through the middle of the ice, try to put more bodies closer to the net, try to do all of those things that can help, because it's certainly what was successful for the Flyers. They had situations where 2 of their goals, you had screens on the goalie, you had guys in front of the net, and that helps. And then you were able to get a few opportunities where you had the middle of the ice at your availability to be able to get there and take an opportunity. The other thing for the Flyers to adjust here is they did a great job of not giving up a lot on the rush. Pittsburgh really didn't have many transition opportunities. The Flyers had their share of them, but didn't take advantage of them. If you have more of those opportunities, you can't expect that to happen in a game like that. I think that's going to be an adjustment for Pittsburgh as well. But if you get them, take advantage of them, because it's not going to come easily through the rest of this series. And if you get those, you really want to try to bury 1 or 2 of them to really announce your presence.
Well, and for the Flyers to win a game where you get goals from Drysdale and Sanheim, I mean, it's pretty impressive, because obviously the 5-on-5, you're looking for your guys to put the puck in the net. Your Tippett's, obviously Martone scores a huge goal later. We'll get to him. But that's a huge jump to be able to get the 2 goals from guys you didn't count on really at all to score for you and still come out with a win, which tells you they got to manufacture some offense from their forwards.
They do. I think that Drysdale's goal is still manufacturing a lot of offense from the forward group because of the setup of it. They're making a line change in the middle of that. There's position shuffling. Right. There's position shuffling going on. You see Drysdale start to go into more of an offensive position there. The Sanheim one is all him. He makes a great play at the blue line, steps into the middle ice and has a shooting lane and takes it. But the whole play starts just by rimming it around the boards and getting it out to the other point. So it kind of starts as a nothing play, and then you create some space, get a Pittsburgh defender who's reaching a little bit, just puts himself out of position enough for you to go around and get that space. So you do want to create more with your forwards, and I don't think that they lacked creating with the forwards. It was just when they got the opportunities, they didn't finish. Zegras had a breakaway in this game. Tippett had a breakaway. There was an opportunity for Barkey, who got behind the defense. That's something to keep an eye on too, is that we've talked about the youth of the Flyers and the veteran nature of the Penguins. If you can find an opportunity to catch them with some speed, we know how fast Tippett can be. There's other guys on the team that do have some form of wheels that can get you from point A to point B pretty quickly. If they can take advantage of that and start to create rush opportunities just because they're faster, that'll go a long way in eventually getting the forwards on the board, because that's who's going to have to supply those chances.
Yeah, the Drysdale, I think that's the Zegras sets that up there. You mentioned Sanheim. That's just a great individual. He had a great game, Sanheim, overall. Right?
To me, he was the best player on the ice. Absolutely.
Yeah, he was outstanding. But I mean, to me, the play of the game is Vladar with 4 seconds left, 3.8 or whatever it is, because that feels like the kind of game that you're in control the whole game. You have a 3-1 lead. They score late, then they get that, and then they win in overtime. And that just completely, you're like, oh, my God, we had this game on the road, and then that's all you keep thinking about. For him to make that save, I think sets the tone for the whole thing. I mean, to me, that's the play of the game.
Well, and it's because it's the way the story typically goes. What you're talking about,
yes.
I'm gonna back it up 10 seconds. They fail to clear the zone, and as soon as they fail to clear the zone, you're dreading what comes next.
Every time.
And it does happen. Sure, I've witnessed it many times myself, obviously. So, and they get the chance that they want. They get it side of the net. There's room to get to the front of the net. Vladar's got to hold his ground there and keep the lower part of the net sealed. He does. I said when I was on the locker room yesterday, it's not the flashiest game from Vladar in terms of the numbers, 15 saves on 17 shots. But when you make a big save at the end, that still puts your stamp on that game and sets the tone for the rest of the series for him. He answered the call in game one, his first career playoff start, and that was another guy everybody wondered about. He's not necessarily as young as some of the other players they have on the roster, but it's his first experience really getting a chance to be the guy in goal in a playoff series, and he answered the call there.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, that's another thing is, he didn't get a lot of shots, Vladar, but listen, at the end of a playoff game, we were laughing about this earlier, in 2010, Boucher starts the run. They replace him with Leighton. Leighton gets hot. Then he stinks. They go back. They were changing goalies on a whim here. It feels like you finally have a strength in goal that you don't have to just, hey, you know what? Let's go with the other guy tonight because neither one of these guys are any good.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you can find that guy and feel confident in his abilities, that can make all the difference. I look at Pittsburgh's 2 goalies, and they have a clear-cut guy they're going to, like Stuart Skinner's the clear-cut guy they're going to use in this series, but his numbers don't jump out at you. Vladar's do. And we've talked a little bit over the course of this stretch run that because of how far the Flyers have come in a short period of time making the playoffs, Rick Tockett's going to get thrown into conversation for the Jack Adams as Coach of the Year because it was unexpected. You didn't think they were going to be here. He has a big role in it. But I think there's a chance that when all is said and done with the awards and everything like that, and the awards are completely based on regular season numbers and performance, I think there's a chance you see Dan Vladar's name pop up several times in the Vezina category. I think that he's got a shot for the overall big picture season that he had to back that up. And the Flyers haven't been able to say that about a goaltender on their roster in a long time. So that's a huge advantage to them to have a guy like that.
Amen to that. All right. Kevin Durso has the coverage over at 97.3ESPN.com at Kevin_Durso. Follow him for all of the Flyers updates throughout the night. Game 2 right here on 97.3 ESPN. The coverage starts at 7 o'clock. Tim Saunders and Todd Fedoruk have the action. Kevin, we'll talk to you tomorrow, man.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Mike.
All right, there's Kevin Durso. Flyers tonight. They take on the Penguins, Game 2. You can listen to it on 97.3 ESPN. And tomorrow we will be recapping all the action. Plus, we'll get you ready tomorrow for the Sixers and the Celtics. So I think the Flyers win tonight, by the way. I really do. Now, you could say, hey, they won the first one, Pittsburgh. I just think they're better than Pittsburgh. They were better all night long. I think the Flyers win tonight. I really do. All right, we'll update the poll question. We'll recap all of the text boards and everything. The Sports Bash live Monday. It's been a busy day. I mean, Phillies, A.J. Brown, Flyers. We didn't go a lot of Sixers today. They don't deserve my time. They don't deserve me to waste my breath on them. I think the Sixers yesterday's effort was humiliating, quite frankly. All right, more Sports Bash. We'll recap the show next. All right, get ready to get out of here on a Monday night. Busy sports night. Phillies tonight out in Chicago, taking on the Cubbies. Aaron Nola gets the start over there. And the Flyers, of course. You can listen to the Flyers on 97.3 ESPN. Everybody, feels like the Flyers right now are exponentially more popular than the Phillies and the Sixers. I mean, it's not even close right now how many positive vibes the Flyers have compared to the two other teams. And, of course, the Eagles are not playing right now, but it's not fair. It's not even close. I say it's not fair. It's not close.
Because the Flyers are fun. The Phillies are not fun. They're exhausting. They make you stressed out. The Sixers are not fun.
Nope.
They're depressing.
The Sixers
fans want to be entertained.
Listen, I was calling basketball games on Sunday morning. I called like 6 games Sunday morning. But I was like, I had the Sixers game on at the same time. And I was like, I don't want to watch this Sixers game anymore. I got these games on here. I'm more entertained by this basketball than this basketball. And let me tell you, I looked up at the screen at one point, and the Celtics were up by almost 30.
Yeah.
Embarrassing. An embarrassing effort and embarrassment all over the place for the Philadelphia 76ers. So
remember what Jason Kelsey said? The Philly fans just want you to try. They want an effort.
I think, after the game, Justin Edwards said it's a make-or-miss league. We just didn't make. He's not wrong. They made 4 threes.
4 out of 23.
Boston made 15. Tomorrow night, the Sixers play the Celtics game, too. Tonight, the Flyers play the Penguins. I got the Flyers winning tonight. I do think the Flyers are going to win the game tonight and come home up 2 games tonight. I hate the thought, though, of them coming home game up 2 and the energy in that building, and then maybe Pittsburgh getting that first one. So I think the Flyers, because we see this in hockey all the time, the road teams always win.
At least one game.
The hockey home ice advantage never seems to work out, right? What happened to Buffalo? Did they win or lose? Do you know?
They won.
They did? They were down 1-0.
They pulled it out at the end.
Okay, they were down 1-0.
The Canadians upset the Lightning, too.
By the way, the Magic beat the Pistons.
Yes, they did.
A lot of people were saying the Sixers should have gone that route. Have a great night, everybody.